For those Birth, an up and down day yesterday in a number of classes, had a few more chess match type races, a lot of controversy there in the final two sessions of the day. The KA junior class got a little wild. The Pro Stars division had a lot of different storylines coming out of that second and final heat race of the day. AJ Myers breaking with a clutch issue after a false start. And then, of course, Josh Conker coming through the field, running down Andrew Bajoso, getting by him with 2 laps to go. Lots of interesting storylines on the race alone. And then, of course, you add in on top of that, it is Championship Sunday. 1 drop out of 4 rounds here overall today. We're going to crown some Stars Championship Series champions.
We certainly are, Xander, and this is going to be an exciting one to see. And, of course, we're kicking things off with the 206 Stars out on track right now. They're doubled up, ready to go as they make their way through the carousel to set this race up. Of course, this is going to be an exciting one as well because we saw a lot of great battling during the heat races between Javier Das, Jack Sakuna, Logan Frank being very strong all day yesterday as well.
Yeah, so Jack Sakina, after the way that the heats have cycled out, will be starting on the pole. Javier Das and the Rocket Tech Motorsports Kart Republic will join him on row number 1. Logan Frank's been pretty impressive this weekend. He's got himself starting on the inside of row 2 alongside longtime Stars Championship Series competitor and championship contender Matthew Darlison aboard the VLR. Cruz Labrie and Ryan Castro will make up row number 3. Deanna Wasdike and Grant Pendry, row 4. Hunter Perry, Jake Phillips, row number 5. Phillips was quickest in final practice on Friday, has been struggling a little bit after a rough qualifying. He'll be looking to move up from row number 5 on the grid to a little higher. We've had some clean starts in this class so far. Let's see if we can keep it going. Green flag in the air. Here they come down to turn number 1. Bring the rumble and in the cold here as we get underway to turn number 2. The top 2 get away clean. A little bit of contact and Javier Das gets knocked to the wayside there. He'll lose about 5 or 6 positions as they run to turn number 4 for the very first time.
Great drive right there for your race leader, Jack Sakina, who is going to be able to move his way through. Javier Das drops all the way back to outside the top 5 as we have trouble right here.
Lots of contact there back in turn number 4. A number of cars collected. Jake Phillips involved aboard the DRT entry. We'll identify the rest of them as well. I think Cruz Labrie might have been collected also. So about 5th or 6th on back, taking out a bunch of contenders early on here in the pre-final while the leaders head up the hill for the first time and into the back section. Ryan Castro with a great start. Darlison under fire. He'll get his doors blown off by Javier Das in the Rocket Tech Kart Republic, and he moves back up 1 more spot higher. I believe that might be Cruz Labrie, so he's still okay. He'll move into the top 5. Darlison down to 6. Hunter Perry, crossover move, nicely done out of turn 14. And as they come onto the front stretch, we'll give you a first idea of where everybody sits at the end of lap 1. North Carolina native Jack Sakina aboard the Comp Kart, one of the many privateers in the 206 Stars class, leads lap number 1.
A great drive for him. He's already checked out by almost a second over Logan Franks. We saw him be very aggressive at the early stages to take away the Heat 1 win early on. Seeing what he can do here as he has to now chase down Sakina. Meanwhile, Javier Das is going to fall quite a ways back. Another couple of other drivers involved in that turn 4 incident. Deanna Weisdike, Harrison Wilk, Jake Phillips, and then we have 2 cars that did not start the race, Ian Morrison and Prevail Perkins.
Yeah, so again, unfortunate for Jake Phillips, Deanna Wasdike in the 110, Harrison Wyke as well, of course, from the tail, got collected. So those 3 are all able to continue. I think they may have lost 1 or 2 that may have pulled into the scale line early from that early crash. So an early exit for a few, but up front here, starting to see Javier Das make up some more headway. He is closing in on Ryan Kastner there for 3rd. 3 car lengths back, headed through turn number 13. He's pulled away from Hunter Perry. And so we'll keep an eye on the off-pole man to try and work his way back up to the lead as we come to put 2 laps in the books here. Just under 10 minutes to go, plus 2 laps in the pre-final as Darlison is going to go side by side with Cruz Labrie here for 5th, or 6th actually, back behind Hunter Perry. He will get clear. Darlison down to 7th. Cruz Labrie back up another spot as he's kind of gone back and forth inside and out the top 5 with your leader, Jack Sakina, continuing to put some good laps together. And last time by, gave up a little bit of time to Logan Frank, who went purple, but still about an 8.5 lead as they head to the red 171 hairpin.
Looks like to be an issue right there for Castner. He's giving a wave over to Javier Das, telling him, come on, get around. Let's try to see if we can chase down the top 2 as they come out of the red 171 hairpin, making the run over towards the back half of the course. But Javier Das really showcasing some great speed as he tries to hunt down championship competitor Ryan Castner.
Yeah, interesting to see that. It looks like the couple drivers, Kastner and Darlison, were struggling for pace early on here in the opening couple laps. Harbier Doss, like you said, making up a lot of ground. He was second fastest that time, only beaten by second on the racetrack in Logan Frank. So as they come out of the final turn, Doss will get a big run. He'll look to the inside, I believe, on Kastner down the front straightaway for P3. Bumper down to turn one. Actually, he'll stay tucked in line. Wait a moment before he goes on by. But like you said, Kastner looking for some help. Will he give it to him? Turn two. He's going to stay behind. So Harbier Doss going to hook up with Ryan Kastner. 2 in 2:06 was definitely better than 1. They might be able to make some headway now on the leaders. Last time by, they picked off 3/10 from Jack Tsukina's margin.
Great drive indeed as Javier Doss looks around, tries to cross over, thinks better of it, gets tucked up back behind as they make the run down to the hairpin. But they have made up a ton of time, and they're bringing in some company as well. You have the 135 machine of Hunter Perry right there closing in, along with Cruz and Matthew Darlison in that 7th position. But Cruz has definitely been one to watch all weekend long with this racing, with the heat races. He had a couple of good top 5 finishes as well. Keep an eye on him as they make the run.
So Harbier Doss going into the back section, close enough to Ryan Kastner to maybe look down the inside, but there's been enough of a cushion in the slow speed stuff. I think he'll be happy to run behind him. At the same time, Logan Frank has finally caught up to the rear bumper of race leader Jack Tsukina. Let's see what he does down the front stretch for the lead. He'll stay tucked behind him and push to try and keep that margin back to Ryan Kastner. They gave up about half a second last time by as Tsukina was getting reeled in by everybody. Kastner's on the verge of getting tow off the 2 leading cars as they head for turn number 4. But right now, no passing up front will make it a little bit tougher to get there. So it's the comp card of Tsukina, the Margay Ignite chassis of Logan Frank, who actually looked a little bit to the outside of him coming out of turn number 4. So as they head into 5, let's see if Kastner can close that gap and get a little more into frame. I'd mark it at about 5 car lengths, maybe down to 4 as they climb the hill here, working lap number 5.
Great drive right there by both Tsukina as well as Logan Frank to try to work together a little bit to pull away from Kastner and Javier Doss. But Doss and Kastner are really working well together to try to close that gap even more so as they head into the carousel. We're watching to see if Logan Frank will try to make a move here in this stage of the race. We're almost approaching the halfway point plus the additional 2 laps here momentarily as they come out of the final corners. Here's a good run for Kastner and Javier Doss as they make the run.
So down the front stretch, that'll make it a 4-car party up front. Ryan Kastner are going to get the benefit of the tow off the back bumper of Logan Frank into turn number 1. That'll put him and Harbier Doss as the 2 quickest on the racetrack. But I will say Hunter Perry, while he's in no man's land, he did pick another 4/10 off the lead. So don't count out the Fernando Alonso card about 2 seconds back from the leading quartet to be able to make it 5 up in the leading group. So all together up front, Ryan Kastner, Harbier Doss, they've caught up to Logan Frank and Jack Tsukina. How long do they want to wait in line? Do they want to start battling? A little mistake right there won't help. As Kastner gets sideways, Doss gets alongside him. I think Kastner might give way into the S's. He does not. He'll stay in front in 3rd there, and that gives Logan Frank no extra gap as they go back to single file, and they'll reel Tsukina back in on the short chute over the hill into the turn 12, 13, 14 complex. And they'll put another lap down this time by single file. Jack Tsukina has led them all 6 laps to be in the books this time. And again, you can see at the end of your screen, Hunter Perry is slowly reeling in the top 4. Matthew Darlison's gotten going. He worked his way around Cruz Labrie a couple laps ago. They're also a little bit quicker than the race leaders. So 5th, 6th, and 7th making up just a bit of time, 1/10 to 2/10 a lap. 1 or 2 passes, and they will be able to get into the mix as well as we head for the turn 4 complex again. Logan Frank continuing to push away on Jack Tsukina.
Watching on here, Jack Tsukina doing a great job being very defensive, making sure that Logan Frank has to make the pass in the certain ways where he feels comfortable. And of course, as they make the run, it's going to make a good run for him as they come out of the red 171 hairpin. Watching on, looking at Hunter Perry, he's been actually picking up a ton of time on his competitors, almost 0.2 of a second on Javier Doss.
He'll push him up to Kastner at the end of the front stretch. Frank looking to the inside, turn 2 on Ryan Kastner. Doss not able to follow. And this is going to give Jack Tsukina a little more breathing room. It'll bring Hunter Perry a little bit closer into the mix as they go to turn 4. Kastner back on him. Doss again trying to follow. Side by side for second. Hanging on the outside will be Logan Frank. And Kastner has to give it up. Now Doss looking to the inside on the red 171 hairpin on Kastner. wheel to wheel for third. Doss with the advantage. He'll get a shove from Hunter Perry, but Kastner will get the Perry shove now into the S's, and Doss is going to lose out all of that shuffling just for Hunter Perry to be the only one to make up a spot, and Jack Sukina gets gifted a half-second lead.
Beautiful drive right there for Hunter Perry to try to work around the traffic to be able to come out with a strong fourth-place run here as they make the roar. Now those four drivers got to get back working together. Otherwise, Sukina's just going to check out even more so on the field. And, of course, you think, well, why is that the case? Because there's 4 cars. The draft is a big play, especially on these long straightaways we have here. Well, if they keep battling like that, that's going to open up the door for Sukina to really start stretching out the gap, which, as we see them heading into turn number 1, Kastner shows the nose just a little bit, thinks better of it, decides to try to work the draft here as they're coming up to about under 3 minutes to go.
So, again, they lose about 2 tenths every time they go side by side offline, 2 to 3 tenths, depending on which side of the racetrack they're at. Now, Hunter Perry's going to look to the bottom side. Kastner saw him coming and said, no, I'm not getting past. I'm going to make a pass. He gets by Logan Frank. Perry stays back in fourth. Doss loses some time, and Kastner takes over the second position, the leader of the pack. Gets a little shot at the end of the corner by Logan Frank. Unintentional. It'll put him side by side to the S's again. And look at Hunter Perry ripping the outside lane through the S's. He'll get by Logan Frank as they crest the hill. Frank gets bottled up. Doss does as well. And Hunter Perry gets himself up into third. Now the gap up to Sukina even bigger as Ryan Kastner now has to really try to put some solid laps together because he is outside the drafting window. He'll need to be really solid. And Doss behind this group, still side by side with Logan Frank, battling for fourth now as he has not been able to make any headway. The off-pole man side by side on the outside. The non-preferred lane, Matt Darlison, not sure which way to go down to turn number 1. And Doss hangs it on the outside, still outside, turn 2, not going to be able to get down low or get clear. He gets down at the end of the corner, and they'll exit 2 and they head for 4.
As they make the run over to turn number 4, you see Javier Doss now really going to try to look to the inside here and make the pass work. He's got, of course, Matthew Darlison has big contact right there as they make the run, and a little bit of a wet gesture right there, wondering what in the world's going on. And you see Darlison giving a roof over to Cruz Labrie to try to work with him as they try to pull away from Logan Frank through the 171 hairpin.
Yeah, that was a hip check right there. Darlison was unsure why Logan Frank crowded him down in the corner, and it cost them a lot of time. Ryan Kastner and Hunter Perry starting to make up some more ground on the race leader, Jack Sukina, and they've definitely pulled away from this group here with Javier Doss and Matt Darlison in line. So Darlison has had a slow start. He got a great run position-wise, but the pace didn't come till about lap 4 or 5 as we see Cruz Labrie finally getting past on Logan Frank. So he got by him, now loses that spot again. We come to the start-finish line here with about probably 4 laps to go, maybe 3, as they won't get around in time. The time will expire, so 3 to go. Here's your second group, Javier Doss and Matt Darlison trying to close back up to the top 3. They're now 2.5 seconds back from the lead and a second and a half away from Kastner and Perry, who are making up some time on the race leader, Jack Sukina. Sukina, of course, unaware of all the battling that's gone on behind him. It's been smooth sailing on his end. The comp kart driver has been clean out in front for the majority of this pre-final. But he's got company on the way. It will be what looks to be a 3-way battle for the lead and the win, with the double sticks coming out this time by.
As they make the climb up the top of the hill here, you're going to see them get a lot of time gain. As you see there, Kastner goes offline. This opens the door for Hunter Perry. He'll look to the inside as they head through the carousel. Side by side, Perry completes the pass for second, and they have really closed that gap up to Jack Sukina as they work their way through the 2 hairpins, heading in to get the 2-to-go signal.
So with that, Hunter Perry takes advantage of Kastner dropping a wheel. We go back to the second group for a moment there. Javier Doss still trying to lead them forward. The battling up front will help them, but it's going to be, I think, a little bit too late for them to really make any kind of headway on the leaders. They're still outside the window of the draft, and it's only 2 laps remaining here in the first pre-final of the day. Hunter Perry has made up a number of spots, started 9th on the grid, and you can see Sukina getting a little bit defensive for the lead, while Logan Frank has gone by Matt Darlison. Here we are, side by side for the lead, and Perry's got a problem. Hunter Perry has blown a chain out of turn number 4. His head into his hands because he has made up 7 spots and was about to fight for the lead, and beyond the front row for the main, he will go all the way to the tail, and that is terrible news for his championship hopes here on Sunday, and it can all go away in the blink of an eye just like that. So Now, a lap and a half to go. Here's Doss's group. Third now for Hardbeer Doss. Fourth for Logan Frank. Ryan Kastner going to have to do all the heavy lifting on his own if he wants a shot at Jack Sukina. Coming down to the white flag this time by 1 to go. Kastner 2 car lengths away. He'll get the slipstream, but it won't help him a ton. He's got no pusher behind. About 5 back to Hardbeer Doss. 4 back from Kastner to the lead. Final time around in 206 stars.
This is why we love kart racing here. You have 6 cars in contention for the chance of winning here in the pre-finals. As they come out of turn number 2, they're making the run over towards turn 4, and it's going to be a great drive for Kastner, but not really anything to make work, as here comes Javier Doss and Logan Frank. They're going to try to switch around positions as they head to the red 71 hairpin.
Yeah, Hardbeer Doss going to go heavy defensive into the red 171 corner. He's just hanging on for third. It'd be a prime starting spot for that main event to be on the inside of row number 2. You've seen how important that inside lane has been on the starts. That was what hurt him starting second here today in the pre-final. Fell back to about 5th or 6th on the opening lap. So I think he's happy to run third. Logan Frank would love to get down to that position, and Kastner is a little bit up the road, not fully safe, but I don't think they're going to fight him here for second. They're going to fight for third. Doss runs wide, though, gets crossed up 2 by 2, third and for 5th. Give Logan Frank the spot. Doss gets a little bit out of shape as well, as Darlison and Labrie will go side by side. Across the line, Jack Sukina, a clean, perfect run in the pre-final. He'll lead flag to flag and win the first race of the day here in Cincinnati. Ryan Kastner second, side by side across the line. Doss did get back by on Logan Frank with a nice slingshot move. 0.08 of a second. He nabs him there at the checkers. Logan Frank ends up fourth, about a half second up on Darlison, who was side by side with Labrie to the line. He ends up beating out Cruz for 5th, so Cruz, Labrie, and 6th. Grant Pendry 7th, Max Taylor 8th. Great run for Prevail Perkins. He picks up 7 spots, gets into the top 10 at the end of that one, into 9th. And Don Gilbo, Mr. DRT North America, works himself into the top 10. Talked to him earlier this week. Said, you know what, I want to get out there and play with these kids, show this old man still has some pace in him, and that's a good top 10 result and top 10 starting spot for the main. But unfortunate for Hunter Perry, from what was a potential race win, at worst maybe a third result, he ends up all the way down in 16th. So a long way to go in the main event for Hunter Perry, but he's come from almost that far back here in the pre-final to get to the lead and the win. And now he'll have to do it again this afternoon in the main events. Of course, for those mains, remember to make sure that you are a KC Premium member. Go to youtube.com/kartchaser/join, or if you're watching on the YouTube stream, hit that join button next to the subscribe button on our channel. You can become a KC Premium member at $9.99 a month. That'll get you all the main events here for the Stars Championship Series. And, of course, next week, Miami USA Grand National Championship, the mains for that one as well, with over $50,000 of cash and prizes on the line. But when it comes to Championship Sunday, we've already got our first storyline of the day. Championship contender Hunter Perry out here in the pre-final with a problem. What I believe probably a blown chain coming out of turn number 4. It sends his day all the way down to the cleaners. So we're going to take a look at where the championship came in, or lined up coming into today, because obviously, again, big time changes in the way everything has shaken out so far.
Certainly is the case here. We'll get that information set up for you, but with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, we'll of course go through the results, as well as also touch base on our next class, which is going to be the Mini Swifts out on circuit.
Welcome back here to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati as the mini drivers make their way around the final parts of the circuit. Isaac Malkett has been solid here this weekend, the kid to beat by far. Your 2020 and 2021 micro champion, looking to get a mini title here this year. He's been one of the many drivers taking advantage of the Stars Champions Club program, where you get a full funded season entry for winning the series title, and that's been able to fund him last year and this year here with his titles in 2020 and 2021. Another title here would lock him in to 2022. He's one of the many mini drivers here on the younger side. He still has at least 1, if not 2 years of option to stay down in the class. If he wants to move up next year, he'd have the opportunity, but he's only been in the mini division for a little bit over 14 months. So impressive for him. Lucas Palacio, also only 8 years old, one of the youngest drivers as well, joins him on the front row, and they're underway down to turn number 1. A little bit sideways for everybody. Ethan Tovo had a nose down the inside on Isaac Malkett for the lead. Now he'll go to the outside lane and back into second as they run to turn number 4 for the first time. Malkett takes him all the way to the grass, and everybody's down low defending on the very first lap.
Great racing action from Malkett and Palacio as they now snake their way over to the red 171 hairpin. You see the class of field of drivers working their way through as they hold that inside lane, a little bit of passing a little further back as they make the run down towards the chicane. But really, Palacio and Malkett have been the class of the field all season long here. Throwing, of course, the Tovo brothers when they make their appearances. He slides his way through up the hill.
Yeah, a little mistake there. Everybody kind of slipping and sliding on cold tires, cold temperatures. Lucas Palacio trying to take advantage. He will. Down the inside and clear for second. Tovo's going to get put 3 wide with Ashton Woon in the middle. And a big-time move from, I believe, one of the Magic Kart drivers. And I think that might have been all the way back to Max Weiland, but I'm not sure. We'll confirm when they come across the line. Either him or Tristan Murphy at the stripe. 1 lap complete. That was Murphy in the 111 Magic Kart. What a great run for Tristan. Up to second, Ashton Woon to third. Big-time slide back for Palacio and for Tovo to 4th and 5th. And just like that, Isaac Malkett with a nice lead here to start the pre-final on lap number 2.
Murphy and Woon showed a lot of great pace during heat race number 2, and they put on a really fun battle between Palacio and the Tovo brothers as they work their way now down to the red 171 hairpin. But Murphy might have a little bit of pace. If he can just find that run, he could maybe challenge with Malkett for this win today if given the opportunity.
Yeah, it could look pretty good. They'll hit the S's over the curbs here. Ashton Woon looking very racy early on, right on the bumper of Tristan Murphy. But they got to be careful here. Again, they're on the verge of losing touch with the leader, and Woon obviously thinks he'll be better to lead the pack. He goes to second. Palacio gets third, gets second as well in the next corner, gets run a little bit wide with some contact. Woon trying to hang on to third. He does. That'll bottleneck everybody. Here comes Ethan Tovo. Big run on the inside lane. He'll get 2 for 1 down the front straightaway and get clear on Ashton Woon and take them to turn 1. Woon trying to go back on him. First corner, big head of steam. Woon to the inside as Tovo left the door open. He'll drop back into third and blocks into turn number 2.
Beautiful drive right there by both Woon and Tovo as they do battle for that third step of the podium for this pre-final event. Making the run down to turn number 4. You see Tovo look back to the inside. They'll go working their way through. Crossover not going to work this time for him.
So with that, Ethan Tovo will stay in third. He keeps stay in fourth as Ashton Woon hangs on to P3. Got around him there. Now Murphy alongside for a moment. He tucks back in. And again, all the while, Isaac Malkett continues to pull away. Lucas Palacio was here last weekend for the finale of the MCC Pro-Am Karting Club Championship. Felt pretty good about his pace there, but Isaac Malkett has shown up and been the class of the field while everyone else has been chasing him down. They continue to fight. Murphy on the inside of Tovo. He'll bring with him one more, and that's going to be another one of the Nitro Kart entries. I think that was Jackson Tovo getting by as well. So Jackson gets by his brother Ethan for 5th. Ethan Tovo back to 6th. The midfield continuing to battle. Here comes Max Weiland. Remember, Weiland enters this weekend not terribly far back in the championship in 3rd. He's got an outside shot to get a little bit higher, but he's got to get up to the top 2 in the points. They are 1st and 2nd on the racetrack. Isaac Malkett has taken over the points lead by a slim margin over Lucas Palacio. He's adding to that every single session that goes by as he continues to pull away here in the pre-final. Last time by 3/10 better than Palacio. Malkett on the Nitro Kart, a league of his own at the moment. Palacio on the TKG Kart Republic trying to hang on as they go side by side back for the 5th position. Looks like Murphy and Woon are going to get a nice healthy gap as Ethan Tovo gets back by his brother Jackson, and he'll get back into the top 5 once again.
Here we go, looking down to the inside. You see Ashton Woon and Murphy battling once again for that 3rd position. Woon having a great drive in the 195 as they make the run through that 2nd hairpin. Not going to be able to make anything work, but the magic kart machine of Tristan Murphy really trying to put that pressure on as here comes the Tovo brothers with a head of steam.
Ethan Tovo with a good run out of the final stretch onto the turn one complex here. He'll make it 3 drivers in this second pack, trailing Lucas Palacio as they try to hunt him back down. Ashton Moon was about a 1/10 of a second better last time by than the driver in P2, so Palacio could get reeled in if they continue to work together for the moment. Tristan Murphy seems content to do that. He'll ride behind Ashton Woon. Ethan Tovo will do the same, and it's pulled them a little bit away from Jackson Tovo and Max Weiland there in 6 and 7. Roman McCurdy up 1 spot from the green into 8th. Jacob Scheibele dropped back into 9th, and Ryan Mort rounds your top 10. They were a couple seconds back from the leading 7. And here again, this group 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the moment, trying to make up some ground on the kid in 2nd, Lucas Palacio. Nobody having anything at the moment for race leader Isaac Malcutt as Ethan Tovo will take over 4th and locking the brakes up a little bit as Tristan Murphy. He'll lose a lot of time in the process, gives up about 3 car lengths. Luckily, there was a gap out back to Jackson Tovo. Only loses 1 spot in the process there. And here comes Ethan Tovo to the inside. 4th, 3rd to make back up some ground. He slide jobs it down the inside in turn 1 and takes the spot away.
Ethan Tovo set the fastest lap of the race so far. A couple of laps last time by, so he is really showcasing some great speed here as he tries to chase down and keep pace with Ashton Woon as they work through turn number 4. But I got to say, I'm very impressed with Malcutt all weekend long. No one has been able to touch him so far this weekend as he's put on this dominant run, making the way out of the red 171 hairpin. And now you see, of course, Woon and Tovo trying to get that draft going. You see a little bit of bumping as they head through the chicane. And, of course, Tristan Murphy and that magic kart machine really trying to find that opening to try to see what he can do in his 111.
Yeah, so Tristan Murphy just kind of riding here. Hasn't shown, I think, pace enough to lead this pack, but he's at least able to hang with them. He's been up front before, and that mistake from the lap prior, he's made up for. He's back to the rear bumper of Ashton Woon. Ethan Tovo will take them onto the front stretch, pulling a little bit of a gap out of turn 15. And let's see where the margin is from Lucas Palacio in 2nd, back to Ethan Tovo. Isaac Malcutt clocks a 103.1. Tovo does the same, a 103.17. Fastest driver on the racetrack is the kid in 3rd. So Ethan Tovo back to where he started there in the P3 spot, and he's making up ground on Lucas Palacio. 2/10 better than him last time by. This time, another lap like that, he'll get within that drafting window and really accelerate the process to hunt down that TKG Kart Republic of Lucas Palacio.
He really is, and that's a great drive for him as they continue on out of the red 171 hairpin. Palacio starting to get further into the clutches of that group of cars of Tovo and Woon as they climb the hill up over to the carousel.
So Ashton Woon pushing on Ethan Tovo. He seems content to ride behind him for the moment. Tovo runs it wide, though, and Woon will go by. Again, that section here, that new set of pavement, turns 12, 13, and 14, all the way to 15. That kink on the front stretch is relatively rough. A lot of elevation changes they kind of bounce down on through, and that's caught a lot of guys off guard. When you lock the brakes up like Tristan Murphy does, you really pay for it. You lose a lot of grip, and then that time, Tovo, I just don't think he was expecting that extra little bump draft from Ashton Woon on the short chute, and it caught him off guard with too much speed entering turn number 12, that long sweeping left-hander, and so he went wide. Woon went by. Luckily, the way the pass changed hands, they didn't lose any time. Ashton Woon actually went purple, quickest overall at a 102.73. Picked up 6/10 on Lucas Palacio that lap. So he's now only 2 car lengths away. Palacio company coming to the doorstep as Isaac Malcutt continues to lead. 4 minutes plus 2 laps to go here in the pre-final. And it's been all the blacked out Nitro kart, the number 172, leading through turn number 12.
Malcutt having a strong run here as he continues his way through, coming up through the second hairpin. They will go. Of course, Palacio really putting the pressure and now under a heavy pressure from Ashton Woon and Ethan Tovo as they make the run out of the final corner. Down the front straightaway they will go. Coming up now to 3.5 minutes plus 2 additional laps. Malcutt, Palacio, Tovo, and Woon, and then, of course, Tristan Murphy, your top 5 as they come across the line. Palacio now really starting to struggle with some pressure from Woon and Tovo as they head over to turn 4.
So we'll see if Lucas Palacio feels the heat into turn 4. Ethan Tovo now close enough to maybe make a dive bomb at the end of the front stretch here if he gets a good run in the second and third sectors of the lap as they head to the red 171 corner, back only a car length away. Now you see we've got one less kart in that group. Tristan Murphy made a mistake, fell back a little bit further the previous lap. He's got Jackson Tovo and Max Weiland, his teammate, on his bumper back for fifth, sixth, and seventh. But we've got a pass coming for P2. Down the inside and clear. Ethan Tovo will take the spot away. Palacio gets a little bit sideways going offline there, and Ashton Woon had a thought about maybe going by him for P3. He thought better of it. This time by 2.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go, and Ethan Tovo is up to second, and only again about 2 seconds away from the race leader, Isaac Malka, who's just been on cruise control since the drop of the green, had to defend on the opening lap, and since then has not seen a challenge. Ethan Tovo that time matched him exactly, a 103.158, down to the 1,000th mark. Now, Tovo already defending here into turn number 4. Surprising to see that this early, as we've still got 2 minutes plus 2 laps to go. But ultimately, he keeps Lucas Palacio at bay for the moment. Maybe a little mistake or feeling the heat coming out of turn number 3 forced him to go low because he went back to the normal line by the red 171 hairpin. Then we go up the hill, 6, 7, 8, over to turn number 9. He'll hit that, and on the run through 10, and then over to 11, 12, 13, and 14 here, that final sector of the circuit, as Ethan Tovo, Lucas Palacio, Ashton Woon, still the same order, no change here into the final hairpins. And you look at the end of the frame, Tristan Murphy has finally got himself back sorted out again, and he's closing back up to this group of 3. So it could be back up to 6 again for the second pack, or at least up to 5, as Max Weiland has started to fade late in the going. 10 laps down now, and probably about 4 to 5 to go as we look about maybe a 14 or 15 lap pre-final based on the time plus 2 laps at the top left of your screen. Ethan Tovo that time by did lose a lot of time to the leader defending. This time, gotta be careful there into turn number 4. That was kind of a late and exaggerated move to get back to the racing line. Of course, in karting, you've got one move to go low when it comes to defending your position. If you move up and then open up for the corner, that puts you on the verge of getting a blocking penalty. You're allowed to, again, go low to defend your position. You just can't have your cake and eat it too. You want to block the inside off so you don't get past? You can do that. You want to make a good run into the corner, you better not go low before that. You better open up and run the normal line, and he's going to open up here into 13. No change through 14 over to the kinks into 15 onto the front straightaway. But Ethan Tovo, again, needs to just be careful. The last thing you want to get is a blocking penalty. It'd put him a couple rows back depending on the severity of it. As they head on the front stretch here, late move over to 1, slowly moves out, turn 2, single file. Palacio, I think he may be happy to ride behind him, although not with that. Another slide in turn 2, puts him on the bumper. Tovo knows it, goes low to turn 4, and hangs on for the corner, but he runs it a little wide, and this will bring Ashton Woon back in. Woon made a mistake himself the lap prior. He lost some time. Palacio was, I think, happy to work with Ethan Tovo and push him away, so that way they wouldn't have company in the fight for second, but now they will once again as Ashton Woon is going to close back up through the S's a little bit.
As they work their way up the hill, Palacio just trying to poke and be a little bit patient right now. We still have 2 laps to go here as they come down through the carousel. Palacio tries to show the nose. Tovo goes a little bit wide, opens the door, thinks better of it. Not going to make it work this time around, but Palacio's just being very patient, which is a very strong attribute for these drivers here, especially in these conditions, as he tries to get the car wound up, set himself up for this final 2-lap run to the finish as they head back into 1.
2 to go here at the line. Palacio will take over the spot. He gets by, goes low into 2. Again, all of them, I think, have conceded they will not be catching Isaac Malkin anytime soon. It's up to 3 seconds now to the lead and counting. As Palacio made that move, give up a little bit of time. Turn 4, goes center track. Doesn't go all the way to the low side. Doesn't go all the way to the top side either. And into the red 171 hairpin with a lap and a half to go. Lucas Palacio on full defense mode here from Ethan Tovo to keep him at bay. Maybe back him up to Ashton Woon. Trigger a fight for third, give him a little bit of breathing room on the final circuit. So Palacio, Tovo, Woon up the hill, 1 lap to go this time by.
Great drive by Palacio, Tovo, and Woon as they now are trying to push their way through. You see Palacio take a little bit more of a defensive line. Here comes Woon to the inside of Tovo. He now completes the pass, a beautiful drive. He's going to try to go for Palacio for second. Can't get close enough. Crossover for Tovo. Beautiful job right there.
Nice pass for Ethan Tovo, but now he's given up a lot of time to Lucas Palacio, and Tristan Murphy has arrived on the scene. So as they go down the front stretch, Woon's got to run. He'll find a hole down low. Big head of steam for Ashton Woon and Tristan Murphy. They'll freight train Ethan Tovo. Here comes twin brother Jackson down the inside. He'll get by. and Woon starting to block for Tristan Murphy. That'll give Lucas Palacio a lot of space. So Palacio, exactly what he hoped would happen. A battle for third. It's broken him away. He should be safe. And this fight, a four-way battle for third on the final lap.
Yes, the Tovo brothers here comes now to the outside. Of course, a beautiful pass by Murphy. He'll make it work and make it stick.
Great move around the outside for Tristan Murphy. Sent it deep on the brakes. Gave Ashton Woon a dummy right there as he was blocking low. Went high, broke later. Passed him before the corner, and Woon now going to go defense on Ethan Tovo, trying to hang on into the final couple turns. Tovo looking for a crossover. Not going to be low enough. Woon covers it off. Nearly actually does get into Tristan Murphy. Knocks him a little sideways. Isaac Melkett will cruise to the pre-final win. Another pole position starting spot for the 172. Palacio will finish second. Here comes the run to the line. Who's going to get it? Ashton Woon will hang on to third as they all freight train Tristan Murphy at the stripe. Murphy goes all the way back to sixth at the checkered flag and give the fourth spot to Ethan Tovo. He just nearly gets up to Ashton Woon. Alongside him, 600s back. Woon ends up P3. Ethan and Jackson Tovo, fourth and fifth on the Tovo Motorsports Nitro carts. Then again, Tristan Murphy, sixth. Max Weiland got back a little bit closer at the end, but some good pace early. Just couldn't really keep up in the second half of that pre-final as the lap times got a little bit quicker. He ends seventh. Jacob Scheible got back around Roman McCurdy at the line by just 200ths of a second for the eighth position. He ends up there. McCurdy ninth. Ryan Mort rounds off the top 10. Then Alex Kutcher 11th. Charlie Myers in 12th. You go down the rest of the field. Nicholas Lessiter in 13th. Caleb Lanter fell back a couple spots. He ends 14th. Rick Davis 15th. And Jordan Polchlopik, unfortunately, a DNF, the only one of the session in the 143. But I think that'll be all clear, which will mean that our KA Masters will be next up to go. So again, an update on where the championship points lie here for the mini drivers coming into the weekend. They've had a decent title fight entering the final round of the season. 17 points between Lucas Palacio and Isaac Melkett coming in. Melkett with the heat race wins and getting those points, getting another batch of points here in the pre-final. That'll put him in the driver's seat for the main event. He'll have the championship points lead going into the main event later on this afternoon. So Isaac Melkett well on his way right now to trying to score a third consecutive Stars Championship Series title, his first in the mini division after moving up in a couple of other regions midway through the summer of 2021. Clinched the micro title easily in that year as well. So back-to-back micro titles. And now as he chases his first mini championship, he's going to have probably, if I had to guess, about maybe 50 to 60 points on Lucas Palacio. And that's important again because with the way that you factor in, you've got 100 points for each of the heat races as well as the pre-final, and it all factors up. So with him getting another 10-point advantage over Lucas Palacio, I mean, like I said, I think about maybe not as much as I estimated, maybe about 20 to 30 point gap going into the final later today, making up that 17-point deficit and entering the main event on the pole. We switch over gears now to the KA Masters division, entering the weekend here with the way the points stacked up. You take a look at it really quickly, and obviously we've had some great battles in this class, but for some of the drivers that haven't run the full season. So Ryan Kastner ended the weekend 48 points up on his teammate Derek Sokol. Jared Tracy entered 132 back. Then Chris Stevens and Thomas Gerstner a little further down the order. And with the way the drops factor in also, that kind of changes things as well because you get one full weekend taken off of your points. The driver with the lowest drop in the top three was Jared Tracy at a 376. It puts him back up a little bit closer. We got problems on the racetrack, though. One driver already out here in the early stages is that might be one of the Kutcher brothers again. So Chris and Andrew Kutcher, who were so impressive through yesterday, and yeah, a front tire has come off, and I'm trying to see who we've got in D. That is going to be the 296 of Andrew Kutcher. So for the second day in a row, it burned him in qualifying with a mechanical issue, and now a mechanical problem here in the pre-final. He was slated to start in fifth. We saw him in that first heat race come from dead last up to the win. He'll have more time in the main today, but everyone's also gotten a little faster as the weekend goes on. So Brian Daniele on the point here on the BJR. Tony Kart, Chris Horan second, Gordon Cameron, Chris Kutcher. The first two rows, and we're underway into turn one. Everyone tiptoeing, unlike the first two classes, to stay on the low side. Gordon Cameron looking good here, and he'll try and get clear, and he does on Horan. So Gordon Cameron up into second. Chris Horan slots to third. Brian Daniele with a comfortable gap into turn number 4 on the opening circuit.
Daniele already checking out over the rest of the field. Chris Horan moving up into P2 as Gordon Cameron tries to follow through. But, of course, here they come. That Maranello kart putting on a great show as they come out of the red 171 hairpin. But Daniele really showcasing some talent all weekend long.
Brian Daniele's been solid since his debut in the series back at Gopher Motorplex, and with the way the drops could come in, a solid weekend again here, just like it was in New Jersey for him. That could really catapult Brian Daniele into the championship fight. I think with the way the drops factored in, if he has a really solid points day this weekend, he could get the title as well, because missing that opening round, that'd be his drop. He's got a win at Gopher, or a top 3 run at Gopher Motorplex, including, I believe, the main event win. Indeed, the main event and the pre-final win there. And you go back a second place result back in New Jersey. So Brian Daniele leads as we battle back behind. That is going to be Chris Kutcher getting by Ryan Castor at the end of the first lap. He takes over third. Horan all the way back to 5th now. So a rough start for Chris Horan as he drops back 3 spots. And Chris Kutcher, one of the many drivers just joining us for this round only, along with Gordon Cameron, could really play spoiler in the point standings, because Ryan Castor, he's watching Brian Daniele start to pull away, and that is a driver he probably did not have on his championship radar coming into the weekend. Now, Brian Daniele with a pre-final win, and of course getting the most points out of the heat races with solid runs there. He's going to look at a really good spot for the main event if Kastner falls back further, and he will. Horan going by for 4th. Kastner, crossover move through the hairpins, back on the inside. He'll take the spot away, but not without losing about 4 car lengths to Chris Kutcher in 3rd. So Kastner hangs on. Horan back to 5th still. 2 laps complete. Gordon Cameron leads the group, and Brian Daniele walking away from the field right now. 2 seconds already at the end of the first 2 laps.
Absolutely an amazing drive for Brian as he continues on this charge all weekend long. Gordon Cameron seeing what he can do. He's going to have a little help from Chris Kutcher in order with Ryan Kastner and Chris Horan. But those 4 drivers really got to start thinking about what they need to do. They can't be passing each other unless they know that they can possibly lead it. As we see that here to the inside. Kutcher shows the nose on Cameron. Couldn't make it work that time, but that just shows that Kutcher feels like he has what it takes to go and challenge Brian.
Yeah, he thinks he might be a little bit better than Gordon Cameron. Cameron slammed the door shut, so no dice for Chris Kutcher. Ryan Kastner pulls up back a little bit closer to him as they go on the short chute into the back hairpins, that new section of racetrack. Kastner rides the curb a little bit, runs a little wide into the hairpin, but it'll give him a good exit, although he got a little sideways off that curb exit as well. So on to the front stretch here. This group for second. Let's see where the laps are. I think they might have made back a little bit ground on race leader Brian Daniele. A 101.4 for Daniele, a 101.5 for Gordon Cameron, and a 101.3 for Ryan Castor. So the gap didn't really improve. It didn't really get any shorter either. 1.9 seconds still from first back to P2. This time, Chris Kutcher, big run, looking inside. Turn 4. No, Gordon Cameron again sends it deep on the outside lane. Keeps him at bay as they go into turn number 5.
Kutcher still trying to show the nose, not close enough to make anything work into the red 171 hairpin, but Kastner is right there as well. 3 cars battling for that second spot as they head through the chicane and make the run. 1 cart is off as they come out of the red 171 hairpin. Looks like it might have threw a chain.
That is the 217 of Tyler Prestel, who was 6th across the line last time by. So the Cosmic driver is out with a mechanical issue here in the pre-final. And so from going on the outside, potentially of row number 3, Tyler Prestel will fall all the way to the rear of the 17 driver K.A. Masters field. Across the line, where do the gaps look like this time? Gordon Cameron, I think, lost a little bit more. Daniele, a 101.1 to a 101.4 to Gordon Cameron, who's still got pressure coming in the form of Chris Kutcher. So Brian Daniele inching away out front, make it 2.2 seconds. Now the gap. Again, Chris Kutcher to the bumper. Maybe not turn 4 this time. He stays in line behind Gordon Cameron.
Cameron's been very strong with making sure he can keep those 2 drivers back of Kutcher and Kastner. But, of course, Cameron can only do that for so long because Kutcher and Kastner are really going to try to work their way to get around as quickly as possible here. And with already 4.5 minutes up on the clock right now, 7 minutes coming up here pretty soon, it's going to be a running out of time because Brian is already checked out to continue to grow that lead to over 2 seconds.
So Brian Daniele, your leader here. Gordon Cameron in that 3rd or 2nd spot, hanging back. Chris Kutcher gives him a little love tap. Kastner lost a lot of ground in the middle sector this lap. Kutcher not a great exit onto the front straightaway. Gordon Cameron getting a good launch. He'll keep that position for the moment. And another lap in the books. 5 down here as they go to turn number 1. This time, Chris Kutcher catches him off guard, gets the spot. Finally, Kutcher gets through to second, Cameron back to third, and they did make up some ground on Brian Daniele that time by 4/10 better for Gordon Cameron and Chris Kutcher. They lost a little time giving that spot away, but ultimately for Brian Daniele, he's got to keep that pace up because we're still not home free. 6.5 minutes plus 2 laps. They could make up that ground, and Chris Kutcher, like we said, has looked a little bit quicker at times than Gordon Cameron. Cameron maybe a little bit better onto the front stretch. If Cameron can push him here this time by, it could put him in a better spot to maybe help him challenge for the race lead. Here they come over the crest. Ryan Castner, Chris Horan still there, Cameron third as they head on through. So Chris Kutcher second, and now Horan for fourth. He gets by on Ryan Castner. 6 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Brian Daniele continuing to lead with a great jump in the opening couple laps. His pace has kind of stabilized since then. Kutcher loses a little time to him. It's back up to 2.2 seconds on the field. As we go down trackside here, Emery Lida has caught up with Finnegan Bailiff, who is really an outside driver in the championship, but more importantly, the guy who has been super fast this week and the winner of heat number 1. Emery?
All right, standing here with your KA Stars pole sitter, Finnegan Bailiff. Ben, you essentially won both heat races yesterday, although in the second heat had a penalty to your brother Gavin. When you look at how yesterday went, how would you assess it?
Pretty good, other than in qualifying third. Great racing. I got a little bit of contact with Chase in turn 3, but other than that, I felt pretty good.
Yeah, so now as you head into the pre-final, you got a couple of guys that are a little bit further up in the championship battle than you. You still have a chance at it. You know it's going to be aggressive. Yesterday, you were able to kind of get out and, for the most part, be away from all the chaos. As you look into this pre-final, is there any one driver in particular you're looking at that might cause you a little bit of issue?
Probably Chase Jones, just because he's fast, and he's in the battle for the points. He's got to beat my brother and me to get it. So I think he's probably the one to look out for.
All right, and then one last thing. When you look at the weather this weekend, it's been pretty chilly. Has that affected the setup at all compared to what you normally run?
Yeah, for sure. We're pretty gripped up right now for the cold, but I've been changing it every morning, every race, so I think we're doing good.
Got you. Well, it's going to be an exciting pre-final watch. Good luck, Finnegan. Back to you, Xander and Taylor.
Thank you, Emery. We go back to the on-track action here. No real changes while we went side by side to show you that interview. Gordon Cameron, Chris Horan, Ryan Castner losing a little bit of time to Chris Kutcher, who hit his best lap of the session last time by, pulled a 10th away. He got up to about a half-second margin. The downside, Brian Daniele also hit his best of the session at a 101 flat, pulled that gap to 2.3 seconds. At this point here, he could really kind of slow the pace down and I think still cruise on to victory. Under 4 minutes plus 2 laps to go. That puts us about 6 laps away from the checkered flag. And Daniele had a 2.2 second gap back to the group behind. Without a major mistake, Daniele should be in good position to lead your field to the green in the main event this afternoon. However, back behind him, like we mentioned, we were watching Chris Kutcher pull away. He pulled a little bit the lap prior, then lost some ground. Now has pulled back the gap to about 5 car lengths up the S's here once again. Cameron still third, and Chris Horan, after getting by Ryan Castner not long ago, has not been able to really keep him from the rear bumper. And now Horan, what a run there, nearly gets to the inside of Gordon Cameron. Cameron closes the door, hangs on to third. For a moment, it looked like you might have had a change for third there, Taylor.
He certainly had an opportunity to do that. Of course, Chris Grant has been running some of the fastest laps out of the entire field right now. The only driver to be under the 1 minute lap here, and he continues on his way through. As they come across the line here, we go.
So down trackside as well, we heard from Finnegan Bailiff saying that he felt like Chase Jones might be the one really aggressive. Let's see what Chase Jones has to say as he's down with our Emery Lida. Emery?
All right, standing here with Chase Jones, your outside pole sitter for the KA Stars race. Chase, it wasn't exactly a smooth sailing for you yesterday in the 2 heats. You had a lot of scrapping to get into your position, but it ultimately worked out pretty well for you, don't you say?
Yeah, it was definitely tough battles all day yesterday. Felt like I was outnumbered there for a little bit, but it's just part of racing. Competitors up front are fast, and I just got to work on positioning myself a little bit better earlier in the race so I can try and dictate it and do what I want to do in the front. So we've got good speed. We found some stuff this morning that I'm a lot happier with the kart. The switch racing engines is dialed in right now. I was well as myself. So it's my job now, and we're going to see what we can do and position ourselves well for the final.
For sure. And when you look at your battle again with both of the Bale brothers, both of them technically in the championship, Gavin Olva more so, what do you think your best strategy would be in terms of being able to race them? Is it getting out front and just blocking from there, or trying to split them?
I've got to split them up. That's the name of the game. You don't see two other people that work like that together, and they're really good at it. They both got really good raw pace anyway, so I can't let them get away, and I've got to be splitting it up the whole time. So that's the game plan for me, and we're gonna have a good race.
Gotcha. It'll be exciting, and we'll see if that game plan works. Good luck, Chase. Back to you, Zinder and Taylor.
Thank you, Emery. And we go back here. We've seen some changing in position for second, third, and fourth. Chris Horan's gotten up to third. Gordon Cameron's trying to hang on for dear life as Ryan Kastner will get down the inside to take the fourth spot away. So Gordon Cameron high as second, now all the way back to fifth here, and a bobble out of turn 15 will lose him some more time. 45 seconds across the line. This will be the 3 to go signal. They will not get another lap in before the time elapses. So Chris Kutcher hanging on to second. He's pulled away a little bit from the group. Chris Horan a little bit quicker than him, even at a 1:08. Your leader, a 1:01.2 for Brian Daniele, but he's still 1.9 seconds out. So no challenge really coming just yet for Daniele as the laps wind down. But the top 5 has changed a whole lot. The landscape way different. Look how far back Gordon Cameron's already back there into the 5th position.
He certainly is, and he is definitely struggling right now. He's lost all that draft that he was leading earlier on in this race, and now struggling to make sure he can keep up with your top 4 as they climb the hill heading over to the carousel. Keeping an eye, of course, on Chris Horan. He's been setting a very fast pace. Kastner, though, the fastest lap last time by. But as they work through those 2 double hairpins right here, there you see Brian Daniele leading the charge here. 2 laps to go for him.
What a great run for Brian Daniele. We've been talking like he's been out in front and not giving him a whole lot of airtime. That's just how easy his race has been. As we look back at the fight for third, it's spread out a little bit. Chris Kutcher has pulled away from Chris Horan. So the 2 Chris's second and third, Ryan Kastner in fourth. Again, another couple tenths picked off the lead. Kastner goes purple that time at a 1:02. So he goes quickest overall and coming on right when he needs to at the very end of this pre-final. The Maranello driver has been kind of up and down throughout the session, but overall, he's kept himself in contention for a front row starting spot. He needs to be really good on this second to last lap, though, and it's only been solid, not standout. Chris Horan still holding a car length to 2 car length advantage over Kastner. We've got problems on the front straightaway here. That was going to be the 230 all the way at the back of the grid there. That was, or maybe 237. That might have been Chris. No, that was Bob Davis, sorry, in the 210. Bob Davis there going around at the front stretch. He's had a rough morning. Hard impact with the outside retaining wall in morning warm-up. Tore up that Tony kart. They rebuilt it. Got back out here for the pre-final. And again, another spin cycle for him. As we go to the final lap, Ryan Kastner, bumper of Chris Horan. He'll be close enough for a dive bomb maybe in the next couple of corners for P3.
As they come out of turn number 3, they make the run down to turn 4. Kastner shows the nose, as you see right behind him. Watching on, heading into turn number 4. Kastner tries to take the long way around, can't make it work. Now he'll cross him over to the inside. It's going to be a drag race down to the red 171 hairpin. Kastner on the outside, contact is made. And of course, Chris Horan will hold on once again. Kastner tries to cross over once again, here heading into the chicane.
Kastner on the outside, gets back in line to the S's, can't fully get clear. Looks for a dive nearly into turn number 10. That could have been hairy. Up the hill, over the short chute. Gordon Cameron now will apply some pressure. He gives him a little love tap into the corner. Single file, Kastner a little wide. Cameron goes low, down the inside. Gordon Cameron gets fourth. Kastner will have to run him to the line. Meanwhile, Brian Daniele, all clear out front, all session long. He will take the pre-final win in KA Masters comfortably for the number 292. And across the line there, Kutcher, Horan, Cameron with a great final couple corner dash to get himself back to fourth. Kastner drops back to P5, and that is valuable points in the championship, Taylor. Brian Daniele winning the pre-final gives him another 40 points or so over Gordon Cameron, maybe about 30 with the way the points go down. So 100 points to Brian Daniele. It makes him that much more of a threat to this championship. He's looking pretty going into the main event later this afternoon.
He certainly is, and with the pace that he's been showing, it's very safe to say that he will be the one to beat going into the finals. He swept both the pole or heat races, and of course with that pre-final win today, just by how dominant it was, I have to say the other drivers are going to have to figure out something in order to go and challenge for this final win here later on this afternoon.
We'll take you to the rest of the top 10 here. Damian Jennings, Jared Tracy, Peter Cook, Anthony Stifler, and Patrick Healy all picking up about 2 spots apiece as we lost, of course, Tyler Prestel on that opening lap. He faded back, and then with Andrew Kutcher having the mechanical, bumps everybody up, but then that wasn't too much passing on their end. They kind of just cruised around right where they started and finished right there. So we go back to find your KA Stars Championship points here. Again, we knew coming into the weekend, of course, Connor Ferris, the points leader, before drops get factored in. But let's go in and give you a little bit of a closer look. Again, with the way that the drops factor in, assuming that everyone will have a drop race before this weekend, Connor Ferris at 370 for his drop. Gavin Bailiff was 12 back, make it more 19 back with his drop at 377. Chase Jones entered the weekend 50 points out of the lead, but his drop round actually puts him, I believe, as the championship leader. He had a 314 back at Gopher Motorplex, a rough run for Chase Jones there. So Chase Jones, with the way the drops go, if this is his best weekend or one of his better weekends on the season, he could get into this title fight. Now, he knows he gave up some points in those heat races to the Bailiff brothers. Finn getting the first one, Gavin getting the second one, and that was a big swing in the points for Gavin Bailiff. Unfortunately for Connor Ferris, this could end up being a drop round for him. He's not had the best of weekends to close out the championship. Emery Latta brought up a couple good points in the way that the seasons went. Connor Ferris has not been a slouch by any means, but at all the races that he's been the most competitive driver, he has had another one outside the championship come in and score maximum points. So for Connor Ferris in the championship fight, he's all the way down to the outside edge of the top 10 to roll off. The Team Ferris Racing Kart Republic driver, you can see mid-grid there as he lines up behind Nikolay Dukov and company. He'll start, I believe, 10th for this pre-final here for KA Stars. But for Finn Bailiff, a great run through the 2 heat races. And with the way the penalties fell, it puts him on the point here for the pre-final. Chase Jones will start on the outside, and that's as good as that would normally be on paper, Emery. He mentioned in his interview with you he needs to split up the Bailiff brothers. They start inside line first and third. That's about as easy as it is to get to first and second with the way these starts have shaken out here this weekend.
Yeah, we really haven't seen much success on the outside of the shifter races, which is a whole different beast. But certainly for Chase, I mean, like you mentioned in the interview, he's got to find a way to split them up. If it means making aggressive moves on the first lap, if it means trying to just defend his position to get it to the inside as soon as possible, it's going to be critical for him to be able to hold that second position, because when Gavin and Finn can work together, we've already seen this weekend, they have been able to get out and away from the field very effectively.
Yeah, they've been able to do a solid job of that. That first heat race, Finn Bailiff long gone, over 3 seconds up on his younger brother, Gavin. And then, of course, that second heat race, Gavin crossing the line first, but with the penalty that he got, it put him down to third on the grid. So that, again, gives Chase Jones back a bit of the upper hand, I think, in the championship, or at least very neck and neck, with everything kind of going in, trying to just manually do it, right? Chase Jones entered the weekend, I believe, as the points leader with drops counted in by only about 20 or 30. Each heat race has 100 points up for grabs. The pre-final, another 100 up for grabs. So with Jones not having the best of the heats, but Bailiff's penalty, I think it kind of evens them out more or less. It put them still pretty heads up here for this pre-final. If Jones can get the upper hand here, it makes it a little bit safer in the main. But then we know those 200 points up for the main, I mean, that could swing everything. You know, from 200 to the winner, it goes all the way down to about 140 to 4th or 5th place. So you're talking a 60-point swing for only 4 positions if they're in the top 5. And with the way this weekend has played out, that's what it looks like it's going to be. I mean, the championship contenders have been the guys battling for the lead and the win every single session.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Chase Jones has done. He's been able to extend his points gap by, I believe, 10 points over this weekend. But the other thing to factor in is they both got to be up at the front, because Connor Ferris has his lowest score so far this season being 370 points. And that can factor in pretty well as well, because it's going to take a lot to be able to beat to match that points total. So they're both going to have to be on the podium to beat Ferris's total, even if he's outside the top 8, because he can just use his drop. But it's going to be very interesting to see, because Jones and Bailiff are neck and neck right now.
Right, again, you got 500 points up for grabs, 100 in each heat, 100 in the pre-final, so 300 points there, and then 200 points to the winner of the main event. So, again, for Connor Ferris, right, obviously this has not gone all to play for, but if he gets a really good pre-final, if the drivers at the front, Gavin and Bailiff, Chase Jones, have some rough runs in the pre-final, you have some outsiders like James Overbeck who could play spoiler, Emerson Reed, talked to him this morning. I was like, man, the runs from the back have been good. I'd love to see you get to the lead. Well, he starts 5th. He's got a good start here. Way wide in the back goes Byron Daly in the Maranello. Everybody else files into turn number 2. Daly got knocked way off the racetrack as the field heads up the hill to turn 4, and it is Finn Bailiff and Chase Jones doing what he needed to do. He split up the brothers. He's into second.
Yeah, Chase Jones with a nice start from the outside. Obviously, wasn't able to get to the lead, but he got into second, which is what he wanted to do in the first place. Meanwhile, Overbeck going to fence on Reed. Reed still going to stuff it in turn 7. Emerson Reed, a really aggressive move there on James Overbeck, and that's going to let Garrett Davis get by as well. For Texas, we got Carnage in turn 7 as well in the red 1-1 hairpin.
A number of cars collected. I believe Daly again just can't, or no, that's the 990 machine that got involved. So one of his teammates potentially getting around there. That might have been Alex Murray. As we go through the back sector, you can see Emerson Reed's got a little bit of separation. Overbeck leads the next group, and then it's Logan Mueller. Then a bunch of cars all lined up. As down the front stretch, the top 3 with a little breakaway. Finn Bailiff leads over Chase Jones and Gavin Bailiff. Big run down to turn 1 as we got more contact in the back of the field.
Already a 3-car breakaway. You've got the 2 Bailiff brothers now. Gavin looks to the inside of Chase Jones, going to slide it in there, and he almost makes a stick. Chase, though, goes back around the outside, gets the positioning up through turn 3. That's going to give Finn some separation, but Chase Jones getting his elbows out there to try to keep that second spot.
He knows he does not want to let Gavin Bailiff by him. That is valuable championship points. This is great news for Emerson Reed to slowly get closer and closer. He is one of the few father-son privateer duos here this weekend, working out of the back of a pickup truck. That would be awesome. The only Merlin in the field. He's up to 4th, and a big run through the S's here brings Emerson Reed a car length away from Gavin Bailiff.
This is as close to the front as we've seen Emerson Reed all weekend. Had a rough qualifying effort yesterday, but 2 brilliant heat races put him in contention here, and he's been really fast. And now we see Logan Mueller down the inside, fighting engine issues yesterday. Today, he looks to have a lot of pace as he's driven up to 5th already. He's the next car in line behind that top 4.
Chase Jones trying to keep Gavin Bailiff at bay. I don't think he'll be able to do it any longer. Pass on Overbeck here on Mueller. That'll take back the 5th spot, and Gavin Bailiff gets back to 2nd. Mueller back on Overbeck, side by side, nearly there, and Gavin Bailiff takes over the 2nd spot from Chase Jones. Finally, Jones falling back to 3rd. He'll stay behind him for the moment, as they know if they fight too much, it'll give Finn Bailiff a big-time lead once again.
Yeah, this is a really interesting predicament for Chase Jones because he has to push Gavin Bailiff for his own interest, but at the same time, you got to be thinking helping your nearest championship rival get up closer to the front is a very big risk to play, but I feel like Chase is a winner. He knows what he needs to do, and I feel like they're both going to work together, kind of put their points battle aside for just a minute here to try to get them back up towards the lead.
And while Chase Jones did a great job from 2nd on the grid to slot into 2nd, most of the starts have gone the way of 3rd, so if Chase Jones rides in P3 and finishes there for the pre-final, he does give up 5 to 10 points to Gavin Bailiff, but he gives him a much better starting spot to begin the main if he can give a big shove to Finn Bailiff off the drop of the green. So let's see where they line up across the line here. Finnegan Bailiff showing the way down to turn number 1. Gavin Bailiff 2nd, Chase Jones 3rd, and Jones, again, like you said, going to ride in line behind him. I think he'll let Gavin Bailiff pull him up to Finnegan and then maybe try to make another bid at it, as Emerson Reed is losing a little bit of touch to the top 3. On the other hand, James Overbeck in that BJR Tony kart is starting to roll.
Yeah, Overbeck's been able to catch that top 4 over the last lap and a half. Once he got by Mueller, you can see Henry Wheeler's worked his way up towards the front of that 2nd group as well. So they're working well together there. But really, I mean, this is going to come down to what Chase Jones wants to do here. Because if he wants to, he can force Gavin Bailiff out of contention. But it looks like they're all 4 working together well in that 2nd group. As you can see now, that gap to Finn has certainly come down over the last lap and a half. It is now, it looks to be only about 2 or 3 kart lengths at the moment. And then 2nd and 3rd are also pulling away a little bit for Emerson Reed, who's now under fire from Overbeck as they come through the final hairpin. And you can see now Finn has Gavin within range, and Gavin has actually been able to drop Chase Jones over the last half a lap.
Yeah, Chase Jones knows that. He looked back to Emerson Reed trying to find some help. He tapped his helmet, said, please push me. I need to get up there. Gavin Bailiff now onto the bumper of his brother Finn. How long does he wait? Will he push with him? Will he get away from Chase Jones? Jones still trying to hang on to them. He's 3 back, headed to turn 4. I think Gavin Bailiff notices as well. He'll wait behind Finnegan for the moment as they exit turn 4 and head to the red 171 hairpin once again.
Yeah, it looks like Gavin, again, is content to play a little bit conservative here, but at the same time, Finn has not had the pace that I think he's had early on in other races. As you can see, he's doing a 59.8 on that last lap round. That's slower than pretty much anyone else in the top half of the top 10. So for Finn now, he's now got a 4-car train behind him that is now closed all the way up. So 1st to 5th are all under a blanket. As now Gavin makes like a little bit of a mistake coming through the kink, and that allows Chase Jones to get right back on his bumper as they come up through the last couple hairpins.
5-driver party at the front of the field. Finnegan Bailiff continues to lead. Gavin Bailiff 2nd. Chase Jones 3rd. Big run coming down the front straightaway. Can anyone do anything with it? Gavin Bailiff, the only one with an option. He'll stay tucked up behind Finn for the moment to turn number 2. Another lap in the books here. 5 down, plenty more to go. Emerson Reed fell back a little bit with a mistake early on. He's found some more pace. What does he do with it? He'll push Chase Jones to turn number 4.
Yeah, right now, Emerson Reed and James Overbeck both being very patient, although we know Overbeck has a ton of pace in that kart. As long as I say that, he's going to go down the inside into turn 7. Almost got 2 and 1. Looked like he overcooked it a little bit, and that's going to cost Chase Jones about 3 kart lengths. So a mistake from Overbeck trying to pass Emerson Reed actually allowed the top 2 to get away just because of the contact between him and Chase Jones. So a difficult situation there for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, Chase Jones was not happy about that move there. He put his hand in the air and said, James, what are you doing, man? We got the leaders right here, but we're about to lose them with an overdone move. And I don't think Overbeck, again, was trying to go 2 for 1. He was just trying to get by Emerson Reed, but it's so tough to judge the braking marker of how late you got to go to pass a guy because everyone brakes a little bit earlier when you're in a leading group like that. 3rd has to brake earlier than 2nd, 2nd earlier than the leader. It all kind of stacks them up as Jones leads into 2, and again, Overbeck kind of gets into him a little bit. They both lose some more time, and the Bailiff brothers get to add to their gap as Overbeck. Big run here to Chase Jones to turn 4.
Yeah, Overbeck seems like he has the most pace of anyone in that second group, but he's got to be able to pick his times quickly because if he makes too much of an aggressive move, it's going to cause that group. As now, as I say that, he goes down the inside in turn 7. That is a risky move there, but it pays off for him. He gets the 3rd position, Chase Jones in the 4th, and now they're all going to have to work together because the 2 Bailiff brothers are well and truly checked out at the front. And Overbeck, who's had the most pace at points during this race, is going to have to find something extra to be able to catch them up.
Well, let's see. What can he do on that BJR? Tony car talking with his dad, Matt, here on the grid before this one. He said, we had to give up our status of being the awesome father-son team working with the Brandon Jarchacrack Racing Bunch, but he's been happy with it because they just needed that little bit extra, the connections that the BJR camp can have and the equipment they can kind of put underneath James gets that extra little couple hundredths or tenths that you're fighting for to move up from outside the midfield into the lead pack. Now, he's gotten that. He's had pace, but he needs to really put the hammer down now. 5 minutes plus 2 laps to go, and he's the only one, it looks like, with the pace to run down the 2 Bailiffs. As you see Chase Jones again sideways into turn number 4. That kart just not exactly to where he needs it to be to fight for the win. He looks a little bit sideways on corner entry, and of course in a class like K100 it's got more speed than the 206s, but it's still a single speed, slightly low horsepower division where the exit speed is critical. And so if you can't get that kart planted underneath you in the center of the corner to launch off, you're going to lose a lot of time. And that, I think, is what's happening to Chase Jones. We'll see Emerson Reed go by him here for 4th.
Yeah, for Chase, I really do think it's just kind of down to he has no margin of error right now with the kart. It looks like when he's going into the corner, he's got to pick out his braking absolutely perfect and get the kart rotated well, or else it just simply doesn't grip for him. And so you look at what the Bailiff brothers doing up front. Their karts look very planted for the conditions. And he mentioned on the grid how he felt better in the cold conditions than he did yesterday. And I just don't see that happening right now. I mean, you look at his times, he's running a couple tenths slower than what Overbeck's been able to do. He slowly was able to drop them. Looks like Emerson Reed's got a decent amount of pace in that kart as well in the Merlin. But really, I mean, Overbeck is the guy that's been the fastest all by himself. He's pulled another tenth down to the Bailiff brothers, made it less than 8 tenths of a second. And you can see him visibly kind of closing and pulling away from that second group.
Yeah, although James Overbeck, really good lap last time by, a 59.2 to a 59.3 for Finnegan Bailiff. So as we look back here to the fight for 6th on back, Logan Mueller leading the next train. Big time gap for them. They're about 3.5 seconds away from the leaders. It's Logan Mueller in line, then Garrett Davis, then goes back to Nikita Panaris, who's up 4 spots here into 8th position from outside the top 10. You go back from him to find Nikolay Dukov and company. And look at this wild battle for the midsection of the race. I mean, everybody side by side, back and forth, moves all around in that midfield grouping. And that is your championship leader in the middle of that hornet's nest. Connor Ferris, again, just cannot seem to break out of that mess and get himself back up towards the front of the field.
Yeah, at this point, this is a nightmare for Connor Ferris at this point. I mean, you can't really see a feasible way that he can even make this his non-drop. So it looks like he's going to be stuck on the 370 points that he won in New Jersey as his final tally, in addition to everything else he's done this season. But meanwhile, I mean, that midfield scrap is crazy. Nice job for Nikita Pamaderis to drive up through the midfield. Earlier on in the weekend, he was struggling, had a rough heat too, but he's put it together now, is in the back half of the top 10. But really, I mean, you can see this group from 6th to 9th. Logan Mueller on back, haven't had the pace to keep up with the front 5, but they're doing a good job to keep themselves out of the hornet's nest that is really 11th through about 25th in this field.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a huge, huge pack of everybody battling. Now let's go back and we'll find the leaders. We're about to, and then we saw Nikita Panaris have a big time send down the inside on Garrett Davis. He takes over 7th. Mueller still 6th. Here's a look at your leaders. James Overbeck, 0.3 better than the top 2 last time by, a 59.11 to a 59.46 for Finnegan Bailiff. James Overbeck, he's on his way forward, marching towards the front in his best run so far in KA Stars competition. Again, like I said, he's playing spoiler right now. Chase Jones is a big-time James Overbeck fan. Every pass that Overbeck can make is one less point for either Gavin or Finnegan Bailiff.
Yeah, we've seen Overbeck put things together in the 206 package before, especially at CKNA and everything. But this is the first time I think we've truly seen him have race-winning pace in the KA senior category. His first full year in senior. So really good job here by Overbeck as he has reeled in the two Bailiff brothers, the guys that have this track literally in their backyards. As we see, that would be about
Murray again with a big-time spin there in the 993, I believe.
This is Vance Bowersock, but certainly all three of the Maranello carts have had massive issues in this heat race, so not good for them. But certainly as they come down the main straightaway, you can see Finn Bailiff now has James Overbeck in addition to his brother for company. As Overbeck resets fast time of 59.090 on that last lap. 3/10 again on the top two. He is absolutely moving here. He's dropped Emerson Reed, who's putting in some good laps of his own, and they've both dropped Chase Jones by an absolute mile at this point.
Yeah, good catch there. Apologies to the Alex Murray camp. He's up in 12th, and it was indeed Vance Bowersock who got knocked on the first lap and then got knocked again as we see Overbeck down the inside for second on Gavin Bailiff. James Overbeck, fastest on the racetrack, now up to P2. He is hunting down Finnegan Bailiff right when it counts. 30 seconds to go. It'll be either 3 or 2 laps remaining at the line. I think they might just make it under the gun, but it'll be tight here on the time charts as we see the leaders head through 12 over to 13 and 14. The timer counting down at the top left of your screen. Overbeck's already made up most of the gap back to Finnegan. Here's that battle back behind. Look at that. Everybody's going at it in the middle group here. This is 6th back to 10th. Logan Mueller hanging on by a thread as Nikita Paneras continues to challenge, and they will get 3 more. So 3 to go. The leaders made it in time before the timer elapsed, and that's great news for James Overbeck. Not so great for Finnegan Bailiff. Look at the run. Turn 4. This time, looking for the lead. James Overbeck down the inside.
This is insane stuff from Overbeck. He has fought his way from 6th to 1st over the course of this race, and now down into turn 7 goes defensive against both of the Bailiff brothers. James Overbeck has led this race for the first time all weekend. Finn Bailiff now trying around the outside up towards the S's. That is a risky move from make contact 3 wide. Overbeck's in the grass coming through the kink, and that's going to allow Gavin Bailiff to take the lead. Finn slots in the second, and now Emerson Reed's going to go by for Overbeck. So in half a lap, James Overbeck went from first to now in the grass and out of the top 3.
Oh, man, you hate to see it for James Overbeck. What a great run coming forward, and Finn Bailiff just kept the nose inside, and then they made contact over the S's, got into the side pod of him. That, again, we'll see. There's been some penalties inside the top 5. I don't know what you would call that, but either way, 2 to go here this time. Gavin Bailiff now the leader. Chase Jones is still 5th. This is a huge point swing for Gavin Bailiff if it holds. About a 30 or 40 point gap over Chase Jones with the way it runs, and Overbeck's going to block for P4. He's just hanging on for dear life right now. The last thing the MPG Motorsports driver wants to do is watch more drivers get ahead and pull away into the sunset, as here comes that second group again, still fighting. Jones back, crossover on Overbeck. Out of the red 171 corner, tries the nose on the inside. Overbeck hangs on.
Yeah, Overbeck is coming under fire here. He's got to get his rhythm back pretty quickly. For Chase Jones, this is a critical spot. Earlier, it was only about a 10 or 15 point difference, but now you're talking about Gavin Bailiff possibly winning this pre-final with ease. And for Jones now, as he looks to the inside in the king, this is a critical spot to give him a good shot in the main event. But the flip side is now, he looks like if he keeps this 4th spot, he's going to have to start on the outside. So in one lap, this whole free-final has been flipped on its head in a way. We see more contact now in the back section, but Chase Jones continuing to fight with Overbeck for P4, coming to turn 1. Jones doesn't go defensive. Overbeck can't make the move stick, and now he loses a couple kart lengths.
Yeah, Overbeck, I'm not sure what he was thinking there. He looked like he might have had the run, and then I think backed up a little bit too much once he realized he wasn't going to have position. So he's lost some ground. Here's a look back at the fight for the lead and the win. Gavin Bailiff, Finn Bailiff, 1st and 2nd. They've got enough space. How hard do the brothers want to fight each other? Again, Emerson Reed, kind of the sleeper pick here in this one, is up to 3rd. He's not got the pace to win, but he's got close to it. I mean, he's got a good fast lap. He's got a faster fast lap than the top 2 drivers, but he was slower than the last time by. Now, Finn Bailiff, such as his helmet there, tells Gavin to keep looking forward. I think he might just ride to the end. What will he do? Final couple turns. Gavin Bailiff cruises through the hairpins here. Finn right behind him. And Gavin Bailiff, out of the final turn, is going to get a nice points haul. He will win the pre-final here in KA Stars and start from the pole as he chases a championship here on Sunday in Cincinnati. Emerson Reed 3rd. Across the line for Chase Jones and James Overbeck. Jones 4th, Overbeck 5th. Man, oh man, did that championship picture change hands completely throughout the course of that one. And Overbeck, a lesson learned right there. He was fighting hard for one spot. And I think, again, I don't know if you fault him for it at all. I thought he was driving, made about every right decision he could. But now he knows if he's going to go side by side in the S's, Finn Bailiff will not cut him a break in the final. That was a lesson really he can take away here.
Yeah, I think if anything, that was really just a smart move by Finn. He sort of forced the move on Overbeck. Overbeck didn't yield, caused a little bit of chaos there, but certainly Gavin Bailiff came out on top of that one. I mean, finishing with a win. I think his brother gave him a little bit of a break on that last lap there and kind of allowed him to take that pre-final win. But certainly, I mean, those top two have worked well together. But James Overbeck, man, I mean, when he gets that kart going, they have had so much pace in that thing the last heat race and the pre-final. So it's going to be interesting to watch. Again, you're also going to see if Chase Jones can find some kind of pace in the final, because if he can, he's still got a decent shot at the points championship, but he has got to get things right here.
Yeah, definitely needs a little bit more. So we'll see who we can chat with out of that one. Finn Bailiff again ends up second. Gavin Bailiff the winner, 100 points to the 964. So that puts him, I think, in the driver's seat for the championship coming into the main event here this afternoon. Chase Jones ends up fourth, of course, behind Emerson Reed, who was just kind of silent through that one. Overbeck rounds the top five. And then you go back, let's give you an update of where everybody else finished, because, man, did it shuffle time and time again outside the top five. Well, it was more of a chess match up there. Overbeck fifth, Panaris sixth, Garrett Davis seventh, Danny Dzelski ends up in eighth, Keegan Bosch rounds out ninth, and then Henry Wheeler on the Rocket Tech Motorsports Kart Republic rounds off the top 10. Where is the championship points leader Connor Ferris? All the way down in 18th at the end of the pre-final, as you can see there, him in the scale line. And it's just, again, been a weekend to forget, unfortunately, for the driver who won the opening round of the season and was hoping, really came in with high hopes for a title this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, for Connor Ferris, again, we touched on it yesterday. He was dealt a little bit of a bad hand in terms of having to come to this racetrack, which Gavin Bailiff knows so well to be able to win the championship. But at the same time, I mean, 18th is by far his worst raw pace he's had all year, and really all weekend too. I mean, he's over half a second off the pace in that heat race. So for him to be able to find the pace in the final is going to take a miracle. And at this point, he's just hoping that something happens to Bailiff and Jones to make it to where they aren't able to take the full points from this weekend, because otherwise it looks like he's going to be forced to finish third in the championship.
Well, lots of work to be done for Connor Ferris, but not too much for the Bailiff brothers. Gavin and Finnegan Bailiff will make up the front row for the KA Stars main event. We'll take a commercial break now as the track cleanup continues here from all the carnage in KA Stars. When we come back, the micros go onto the circuit. Cameron Marcia alongside Holden Harder. They've worked together beautifully all weekend. They'll be lining up on the front row here for the pre-final.
Karting is one of the most intense forms of motorsport, and if you manage a racetrack or commercial facility, you know how hard it is to find good help. Let us introduce to you our newest track safety product, the 4-flag light system from Pixelcom. Pixelcom products are incredibly affordable, and our plug-and-play system makes the only requirements lights and a wireless remote. The ability to upgrade your system with intuitive software and additional products makes this the perfect system for tracks of all sizes. Communicating with drivers on track will make your program run more smoothly and, most importantly, increase safety dramatically once deployed. Find us online today at tracksystemsna.com and let us elevate your motorsport.
Looking for a top-level team environment that fits your budget? Look no further than AMAX Racing. We cater to customers around the country who want driver coaching, tuning assistance, hospitality, track support, and a family race environment. Our race schedule is support available at all levels, from club and regional series across the Midwest to top-tier events such as the TKNA Grand Nationals, the U.S. Pro Kart Series, and the Scooter Pro Tour. Whatever level you may be at or want to get to, AMAX Racing can get you there.
The 2023 season is just around the corner, and if you're looking to buy, sell, connect, or learn, make plans to attend the 37th Annual OVK Go-Kart Swap Meet, February 4th, 2023. Register online at ovk.com.
Hannah Greenemeyer is going to score the final win of the U.S. Pro Kart Series.
Hayden Jones is a national race winner. Nate Cicero wins.
Four-time champion Ryan Norberg winning Super Nationals 24.
Winner, winner, winner.
Are you ready to join one of North America's winningest driver development programs? Rollison Performance Group offers fully customizable packages that are meant to take your game to the next level. For more information, head to rollisonperformancegroup.com.
Are you ready to meet your favorite new karting product? Meet the tunable karting axle from Taika Technologies. Our globally patented tuning inserts make it easy for users to adjust stiffness in just minutes, making it the perfect tool for drivers new to the sport or trying to make the most out of their setup. The best of the best choose Taika, so get over to taikatech.com and grab yours today.
Welcome back to Kart Chaser coverage of the 2022 Stars Championship Series from the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Taylor Burris here along with Emery Lida as we're getting ready to continuations of pre-final action. It's the micro category out on circuit now. We'll go ahead and give you your starting lineup. Starting in 16th will be the 11 of Caleb Smith, followed by, of course, Homer Heeman in the 15th position. Graham Delk will be in 14th with Griffin Vukcik in the 13th position. 12 is Asher Farish, followed by Danny O'Gara in the 11th position. Rounding out in the 10th position is Grayson Walcott. Gage Harding will be in 9th, followed by Oliver Guernsey in 8th position. Jake Manalio in 7th position. 6th position will be Enzo DiGennaro. In 5th is Ben Gleberman. Caleb Tracy, Kai Mars, Holden Harder, and Cameron Marcia rounds out your field. And Emery, we've been talking about this class all weekend with Cameron Marcia, Holden Harder, the class of the field, those two working very well together as they battle here at Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's been a really mature drive from both Marcia and Holden Harder to work well together. We saw a little bit of mixing up in the first heat. Second heat was very, very well run. They were able to run away from Kai Mars and Caleb Tracy. Those two have been the only two that really can keep up with them for a number of laps. So it's going to be interesting to watch what happens here in the pre-final. But so far, so good for both of your front row.
As they enter into the start zone, you see the officials telling them to slow it down, get themselves lined up, looking over to make sure we have a clean start for the pre-final action. As they enter into the start box, green lights are away. We're racing in the pre-finals for your micro category. Heading down into turn number 1, you see the 14 of Cameron Marcia get a great jump on the field with trouble for 2 cars. The 75 of Holden Harder and Kai Mars. Multiple cars involved in this pileup in turn number 2. Multiple trying to get themselves going as it meanwhile, though, opens the door for some new competitors to show their face as we have a change for the race lead up at the front of the field right now as Marcia is under immense pressure as we try to get a look
Caleb
to see.
Tracy.
It is Caleb Tracy.
Those two have been the only two from the top 5 to make it out. As Ben Gleberman got caught up in the big pileup in turn 1. You already had Holden Harder and Kai Mars in turn 2 getting really, really close together and ultimately spinning off. And that is a nightmare for your outside pole sitter in Holden Harder as well as for Kai Mars. 2 of your favorites this weekend out of contention in the pre-final before lap 1, and they'll have a lot of work to do both in the rest of the pre-final and in the final as we now see Marcia leading from Tracy coming through turn 12.
Tracy tries to show the nose and cross him up a little bit as they head through the second hairpin. Not able to make it work, but Cameron Marcia now puts his head down and realizes he's got to go to work here today in the pre-final action. We'll reset the field for you as they come across the start-finish line, but it is going to be Cameron Marcia, your race leader. Second is Caleb Tracy. Third is going to be Enzo DiGennaro. Fourth is going to be Oliver Guernsey, and Grayson Walcott rounds out your top 5.
Yeah, already off to a very spread out start. You can see Marcia and Tracy working well together so far, but really it's the other cars behind them that have been just completely mixed up. Enzo DiGennaro started in 6th, Oliver Guernsey started in 8th, and Grayson Walcott started in 10th. So that outside row worked out beautifully for them, but on the flip side, Kai Mars spun out of the race. You already saw Ben Gleberman's out in 11th. You see really Holden Harder lost 7 or 6 spots as well. So Harder's going to have less work to do than I thought, but still a lot of making up to do for all of them. But for Cameron Marcia and Caleb Tracy, this has been a brilliant start for both of them. Marcia, if he has the pace, he should be able to pull away from Tracy over time. If not, it's just going to be between the two of them for the win.
Certainly is the case as we watch on here. Your battle for the race lead between Cameron Marcia and Caleb Tracy. Marcia has stretched it out to about 3 kart lengths over Caleb Tracy as they make the run out of the final corner, heading across the front straightaway. But for Kai Mars, he's currently sitting in the 9th position. Holden Harder, who's been in the class of the field as well, in 7th position. As they cross the line, heading it back into turn number 2, they will go. Caleb Tracy has to find a little bit of pace, and right now, as Cameron Marcia sets the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, and just paying attention to the times being run behind them. Holden Harder and Kai Mars both doing competitive lap times, only 2 3/10 off of what Marcia did. So it's not all lost for them. At this point, they can probably get up to 4th or 5th by the end of the race, and that will set them up well for the final. But at the same time, still not ideal to have a crash on lap 1. Very dangerous for both of them in terms of their prospects for the rest of the weekend. But for Marcia, he's looking like he's able to slowly drop Caleb Tracy. I mean, he pulled a 3/10 gap last time. This time looks to be stabilized. But again, you're just trying to make it through this pre-final. You don't necessarily have to abuse your equipment here. You already have a 12-minute plus 2-lap pre-final as well as a 15-minute plus 2-lap final. So these are long races. There's a lot of times for things to happen. Just don't do anything too crazy early on to set yourself in a bad position.
Certainly is the case here. One driver who has set himself in the perfect condition right now is Cameron Marcia and Caleb Tracy. Your top two has checked out by a good 2 seconds, if not more. Depends on when Enzo comes across the line right now, which he has. Make it 3.5 seconds separating your top two from Enzo DiGennaro, who's also in a battle with Oliver Guernsey for that third position.
Yeah, and looking back through the field again, you saw Holden Harder that last lap round, got himself up into 5th position. So a good recovery drive for the number 75 kart. But on the flip side, Kai Mars is down in 8th. He just did a lap of 105.026. That's less than a 10th of what Marcia did. So those two guys are running fast and really competitive times. It's just going to be about getting the track position back that they lost in that turn 2 incident. But for Marcia, this is a composed drive. We've seen him so much this season be able to just run consistently up at the front, whether it be Route 66 stars or even a little bit of USPKS. So really impressive stuff for the young driver.
Very impressive stuff for the young driver this season so far. As we watch on, this is the battle for P6 between Grayson Wolcott, Asher Farish, as well as Holden Harder in the mix as well, as they continue to make the run through there and continue to push on. Actually, this is going to be Wolcott, Ferris, and Kai Mars right there behind as they make the run out of that final corner. In fact, here comes Kai Mars with a big head of steam heading in over across the line. Kai Mars trying to see what he can do in that 6th spot, but he's under immense pressure from the next few competitors right behind him.
Yeah, I mean, Kai Mars that last lap through, he did the same thing that Harder did the lap before and got by both of them. So 105.5, a slow lap for Mars, but it's not too far off the pace. I really do think that this is about the best case scenario for both of them. They spun on the first lap, but a big pileup mitigated the consequences of the incident, and now they're still going to be able to start the final close to the front. Marcia, 104.7 that last time through, though. Absolutely blazing fast. Pulled 3/10 to Caleb Tracy, and now it should be easier for him to pull away that Tracy's out of the draft and doesn't have quite as good of a reference.
Certainly does not have a reference right now, so he's trying to see what he can do as we keep an eye on this battle between Wolcott and Ferris as they work their way through. That number 23 and the 44 are really putting on a good show as they come out of the final corner and continue to press their way through. As they come out of the final corner, making the run, we'll actually pick up here a little further back, and here they come now, and this is a great drive for them. And now here we see one of them swing out to try to drag race to move up a spot. And there it is. The 21 machine looks to the inside. That's Gleverman around O'Gara as they'll swap positions.
Yeah, Ben Gleverman, another one that got caught really far back because he was in the pileup that kind of succeeded the incident between Mars and Harder in turn 2. So Gleverman's had more work to do than both of them. He doesn't have the race winning pace that they have per se, but he does have the pace to finish close to the podium. So this is a good run for him. He's doing 105.4, 105.2, which is a few tenths off of what Marcia's doing, but still. Cameron Marcia at this point is a 10th clear Holden Harder, and then half a second clear pretty much anyone else from a time standpoint. So Marcia continuing to run a blistering pace up at the front, and this bodes well for him in the race because it's still going to take Harder a little bit of time to clear the next couple of guys, and when he does that, that's going to leave Marcia with a little bit of space.
Already crossed the halfway point, 5.5 minutes plus an additional 2 laps left to go for Cameron Marcia, who's already stretched that lead out even more so for your second place driver, Caleb Tracy, 2.1 second. DiGennaro comes across the line. He's another 4 seconds back, who's in a very tight battle with Oliver Guernsey for that third step of the podium here in the pre-finals action, working their way through out of turn number 3. Those two drivers are going to do battle, but here comes Holden Harder closing in on that gap as well as he set fastest lap of the race, a 104.364.
Yeah, good draft there from Holden Harder. You can see him working his way up towards the front third and fourth. And you can see he's doing 104.364. He's 1.5 seconds back. At this point, he'll catch all the way up to third. There's no doubt about that. Enzo DiGennaro is about a second per lap off of what Harder's doing and a 7/10 off of what Marcia's doing. So Harder's going to be able to get up to third. Anything beyond that would be really difficult to do unless one of the top two has some kind of mechanical failure or a massive mistake. But you can see now that big train extending all the way back down from 7th on back. That's Danny O'Gara, Grayson Walcott, Gage Harden, Ben Gleverman. All of them have been in to this pack. You can see Gleverman's kind of making some progress, but not quite as quickly as some of the other guys that have been a little bit faster than him over the weekend. As you can see now, them coming through the final hairpin, going down to get set to go onto the long main straight. It's about a 5-cart pack there. They're all running a couple seconds off of what the leader is doing, but still good battling going on for these micro kids.
Black flag given out to Graham Delk in the number 33 machine as he receives a penalty. We will continue watching on here as they work their way through the circuit. Coming up now to under 4 minutes left to go for your drivers as we watch the battle for P4 between drivers such as the driver of Guernsey, Harder, Mars, and O'Gara in a very heated battle.
Yeah, Holden Harder's been able to catch the 3rd and 4th guys, Gennaro and Guernsey, and you can see Harder's looks like he's already trying to make a move as I speak. He's making a move on 4th position. That would be Oliver Guernsey. Cannot make it stick, but it's only a matter of time before he gets that one done. Harder's got so much pace compared to them. One thing I'm really interested in is Caleb Tracy. Looks like he's fallen off the pace quite a bit the last few laps. So 105.7 his last time through. We'll get a look at what his time is this time around. He's in 105.9. I wonder if there's some kind of mistake or if he's just backing off because this is not good. As we see Holden Harder makes a move into 4th position, and now he'll set his sights on Enzo Di Gennaro for 3rd.
Let's follow that battle here as Enzo Di Gennaro continues to work his way through in that 3rd spot. But here comes Holden Harder as we watch up a little bit ahead of pass 4 position. That looks like to be the number 21 of Gleberman moving up to P7, getting around Danny O'Gara.
Yeah, so Gleberman, a nice run for him. He, again, started in 5th, but got spun on the first lap around, fell back to about 14th or so. Now he's put together a good race to be able to put himself back in position. And you can see now, looks to be that's the battle for 5th and on back. You can see Oliver Guernsey has a pretty big gap back there. Then you can see Holden Harder now, still on the back of Enzo Di Gennaro. Now he's going to make the move, coming into turn 11, turn 12, gets the move done, move Holden Harder back to 3rd. He might not be able to catch Caleb Tracy. He's got about 3.5 seconds to pick up there. You can just barely see Tracy in the shot as we came into that corner. But now Harder's going to have to set his sights on number 55 Race Factory machine. And we'll see what Tracy's been doing. He's really struggled these last couple of laps. So 105.8, that is not good. He's a second slower per lap than Holden Harder. And again, I wonder if there's some kind of mechanical issue. Maybe a tire's starting to go flat or something like that. Because Caleb Tracy has been decently fast all weekend. Not as fast as Harder and Marcia, but still not 1.2 seconds off the pace.
No, he certainly has not indeed. And we'll have to keep track of that. Currently, the gap between Tracy and Harder is 3.4 seconds. We'll keep an eye on it. It's closing very quickly as Tracy goes a little bit wide out of the red 171 hairpin, continues his run, but it's going to get a little bit closer by the half of the, as we're seeing here, 1.5 minutes left to go on the clock, plus the additional 2 laps for the drivers as they climb the hill up towards the back half of the course, towards the carousel.
Yeah, that means there's effectively probably 4.5 laps left in this race. So for these guys in the micro swift category, they have enough time. You look at Holden Harder, he's already picking off a second a lap to Tracy. At this rate, he'll catch him right at about the white flag. So this is a really good pace being set by Holden Harder. It's a good pace being set by Cameron Marshall up at the front, who's been running really consistently the last few laps. He's been within half a tenth for the last 6 laps of racing, which is really incredible to see. That lap through, Tracy picked it back up again, though. Only 4 tenths slower than Harder. So I don't know. Maybe he just kind of went a little bit conservative on those last few laps. I'm not exactly sure what's up with that, but certainly good pace by Tracy to pick back up a lot of what he was missing.
They'll be coming to the 2 laps to go here momentarily as it's now 40 seconds left to go on the clock and continues to tick on down. So we should be safe to say we should be seeing the 2 lap to go signal next time by for your race leader of Cameron Marcia. We'll pick up a little bit further back here. This is coming out of turn number 4. Now here comes your Holden Harder machine of the 75 climbing up the hill with Enzo Di Gennaro trying to keep pace with him, but Di Gennaro really not showcasing a whole lot of speed. In fact, just ran his personal best on lap 10. Nowhere still near the faster times of Holden Harder.
Yeah, I mean, the field spread in this Microsoft category is quite a bit, which is to be expected. This is the lowest experience level out on the Stars Championship Series. And still, you can see Marcia, 104.7, slow down a little bit that lap around. We'll get the gap from Tracy to Harder. They just barely got through to get 3 to go. So this is now officially 3 laps of racing left. Harder that time, 7 tenths. It's going to be close, but I think Tracy might have just enough to hang on.
He might have indeed, as it's now down to 2.3 seconds here as the field makes the run down over to turn number 4, keeping on the competitors here. Kai Mars, we're going to keep an eye on. He's been being very consistent, but still running in that 6th position. He is about 1.7 seconds back from Oliver Guernsey to get into the top 5.
Yeah, at this rate, Mars is going to be the one to watch in terms of catching Guernsey because I think he can just about do it right at the checkered flag. So Kai Mars has not had the pace of either Holden Harder and Cameron Marcia this weekend, and maybe that's a little bit disappointing for him, but certainly he's got the pace to be able to get himself back up into the top 5, which would be well done after a crash on the first lap that set him pretty far back for the pre-final.
Here they come out of the final corner. 2 laps to go for Cameron Marcia as he makes the run down into turn 1, 2 more times around. He is all by himself as we watch on. Caleb Tracy comes across the line. He is going to be 8 seconds back, but here comes Holden Harder. He's picked up a bunch of time. 1.2 separates those 2 competitors.
Yeah, that was a scorcher from Harder and a little bit of a rough lap from Tracy. 1.2 seconds he picked up that last lap. He's got 1.2 more to pick up. So at this rate, on the last lap, he'll be right on Caleb Tracy. Meanwhile, looking back at that battle, Guernsey has picked up the pace a lot compared to Kai Mars, and so now Mars probably won't be able to catch him at this rate. And you look back, and now Guernsey's close to what DeGennaro is doing. So really, this is all kicking off in the second and third battles. Harder, you can see visibly catching Caleb Tracy on your screen right now. I mean, he is gaining so much time. It was 1.2 seconds when they crossed the line. It can't be more than about 2 or 3 tenths now. And it looks like Harder just has so much confidence in that car. You can see he is sending it deeper into braking zones. He's carrying more apex speed, and he is really rolling up to Caleb Tracy.
Here they come. White flag in the air for Cameron Marcia, but we're going to watch this battle for P2 here as Holden Harder gets a great run out of the final corners. He's going to go side by side as they head down the front straightaway. Caleb Tracy tries to be defensive to keep him there, but so far Holden Harder sends it on in the inside, but the door gets shut on him from Caleb Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy got his elbows out there to keep himself in second position. We'll have to see if he can do that for a full lap now. Meanwhile, Kai Mars, the personal best on his last lap to bring him within a second of third and fourth. And look at that battle for second now, coming through turn 4. Harder just has so much more grip coming through the center of the corner. And you can see now Tracy's going to have to go defensive. He kind of does. Not enough, though, but Harder stays behind him. I would have thought that Harder would have made that move into 7. Just chooses not to. He's going to wait to the second half of the lap where Holden Harder is right
Rivera will be in fifth with Hugh Templeman in fourth position. Joe Ruck will be starting in P3 with Ryan Frank in seventh, and on the pole will be the 672 machine of Larry Pegram.
Yeah, so already we've seen a difficult weekend so far for Lance Lane. He had a crash in the first heat that means that he'll have to start in seventh position. So he's a guy that might be a little bit out of place. Looking down the rest of the grid, rough weekend so far for Robert Feach. He was fast in New Jersey. And other than that, I mean, you've got really a outright leader in Larry Pegram that has a pace advantage. But other than that, second through seventh is what's really up for grabs over the course of this weekend.
Field now getting themselves lined up on the grid. Officials getting them all set up, making sure everyone looks clear and green so we can have a great start. As the official sets them up, looks over the field, gives the signal up front. Let's take a look at the light here as they watch and get ready to go. Field gets themselves revving up, waiting for the lights. We're happy to have you with us here on Kart Chaser for pre-final action for Shifter Kart Racing. Lights out and away we go. A big shovel right there as they go off. One car actually riding the tail end of that number machine of the 500, of course, of Hugh Templeman, and they will now just fire their way into turn two. Trouble, one car around the 500 of Templeman around once again, and he might have stalled it.
Yeah, that looked to be Brian Chatfield going over top of Templeman on the start. And so that is not ideal for Hugh Templeman. Also spun it around. And that was very dangerous there. Almost a big crash between one of the GFK carts or GFC carts and Templeman as well. But Larry Pegram up at the front of the field. Off to a nice start. He finally got the put. Oh my God, we've got someone who's got a broken muffler there, and that is not good for him. Again, I think that might be Chatfield back in the back of the field, who is not going fast at all. You can hear the sound on it, just how rough that sounds. So he'll have to pull in at the end of the lap. But as they come now, complete lap number one, it is Larry Pegram up at the front of the field. Joe Ruck looks like he's got himself up in the second on this lap, with Ryan Frank in third as they come down to complete lap one. And yes, Pegram with a 6/10 gap over Ruck with Frank right in tail.
Great battle here up your top of your field right now as they move on. It's going to be Chatfield and Robert Feige in rounding out your top five as we keep an eye on some of your other competitors here. One driver who I noticed who had a big issue, Michael Rivera, dropped all the way back to 15th position. I must have had a missed shift on that. It cost him the chance to really stay in that top five.
Yeah, it looked like he had an issue at the start. Might have gotten caught up with what happened between Templeman as well as Chatfield. But the guy with the broken muffler is Lance Lane, so a nightmare weekend for him just gets even worse. And now you can see Ruck just continuing to hold off against Ryan Frank as well in third. And they're not losing too much to Pegram, but Pegram has been able to, again, just get out that consistent gap on those first couple laps. Ruck there really drives them deep into the turn 13 hairpin. Nice corner from Ruck will keep him from being under fire down this main straightaway as Pegram comes through to lead another lap. He pulled about a 10th and a half, although Brian Chatfield in fourth goes purple with a 55.648, half a second clear what first through third are doing.
Great drive right there by Brian Chatfield as he is trying to see what he can do in closing the gap to your top three. He is still quite a ways back by about 2 seconds from your race leader. As we watch Larry Pegram make the run down into the red 171 hairpin. Big bobble right there for Joe Ruck. This could open the door for Ryan Frank to maybe move up to P2, but not going to work this time. But Joe Ruck really holding on to that race car.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Ruck, you got to say that corner has been treacherous under braking for a lot of people this weekend. If you don't get it, if you don't spot it right with the way it's off camber, you're going to slide into the corner, and that is not ideal. And so for Joe Ruck, he's really hustling the cart. You can see him trying to find that extra pace of Pegram, but that time it backfired. He lost a good amount of time. And not only that, but it also cost Ryan Frank a lot of time too. So now second and third are as close to fourth as they are to first. So not a good lap for them. Pegram comes through, resets fast time. Chatfield can't match it. He's half a second off, and Ruck and Frank had a really rough climb that lap.
They certainly have. And how about, of course, Larry Pegram breaking almost into the 54-second bracket of 55.136 as they come out of turn number 4. And Ruck and Frank continue their battle. Frank gets a great run out of turn number 4, tries to close the gap. As there you see, Ruck just holds on and makes the run out. But here comes Brian Chatfield in the 4th spot in that 619 machine. He is really showcasing some talent to go chase the top second and third place drivers.
Yeah, Chatfield has more pace today than I think we saw yesterday. Although in the 6th through 8th group that he was in, he looked to have the most raw pace with them. But right now, it's just Larry Pegram being able to find that extra 6, 7 tenths that no one else in the field can. And you can see he's not doing that every lap, but when he does it, it is just backbreaking for the rest of the competition. And now coming down the main straightaway, you can see Pegram clicks off another lap. Not as fast again. The consistency has been an issue. That's something that you don't really see as much of in the main shifter category, but certainly here in the Masters, a little bit more common. And that time through, Chatfield cuts off another 3/10 from Ruck and Frank, and he is now only 4/10 away, so he is coming, and you can see now Pegram with a comfortable lead, but the rest of the field really coming closer together. Second and third, as you see just in that little bit of a shot, coming together. You can see Ruck in second, Frank in third, Chatfield getting up there in fourth.
Keeping an eye on some other competitors, we got the battle for P5 between Robert Feige and Morn Van Zak, who picked up a lot of spots here as he is trying to get his way up through the field. As they make the run over into the carousel, they see the hairpin. There we're watching the battle for P2. Joe Ruck, Ryan Frank, Brian Chatfield. Chatfield shows the nose to the inside of that second hairpin. They make the run out of the final corner. He gets a good run. He may look to the inside as they enter into turn number 1. Will he show the nose? Not able to do it this time, but gets a big slide out of 1.
Yeah, so at this point, Chatfield is on the scene at 55.5. That last time through was his fastest lap. Pulled off another couple tenths, and as they come down towards turn 4, Ryan Frank looked like he made a little bit of a mistake in turn 1. That is what allowed for Chatfield to get really close, and he's lost a couple tenths to Joe Ruck as well. So Frank now coming under fire from 4th position as Ruck now, you can see, gets a good exit off of the turn 7 hairpin. He is driving as hard as he can, really, but it's just not enough. Larry Pegram has 2.4 seconds gap already on the script through 5 laps, and this sort of domination is absurd. As we see now, Chatfield, throws it in there into the turn 12 corner, and he absolutely gets that one done. Really nice move from him. Aggressive on the brakes. In any other class, that's probably not possible, but in the KZ shifter, that is just what you have to do to get moves done around this tight circuit.
Of course, we talked about it yesterday a little bit. Of course, that the shifter carts are actually going down into first gear in those kind of hairpins because of just how slow those corners are. What are some ways where you can get a better run or better shift off corner exit compared to your other competitors, Emery?
Well, so first off, I've only driven a shifter once, and that was not a good experience. So I'm not the best example of this. But I will say, if you're trying to make the most of the corners, we said Chatfield, try to send it into the corner. You really have to take the diamond approach to a corner. Kind of hard on the brakes, get a good straight line entrance, and then just pivot it, get it going on the exit, kind of get that quick rotation, which is different fundamentally to what you would see in an X30 or in a KA engine. And the guys that are the best of it have seamless shifting. It's basically second nature to them. The guys like AJ Myers, Martin Kremers, Danny Formal, they're extremely good at that. And so they're able to keep that style going. We have one off the track in a Formula K kart. Not sure exactly who that is. We'll get a number on that in just a second. But man, I mean, it really is just down to being smooth and consistently pushing the limits on the braking zone, pivoting the kart, and getting a really good exit. And Larry Pegram hasn't done it consistently, but when he does, he's unmatched compared to the rest of the field.
Just saw another vehicle editing down over towards the scales. His day is done. I believe that's going to be the 513 of Gary Osterholt, who will end his day. And I believe Hugh Templeman might have been the other competitor. Actually, no, we might have got a better look. I believe it was the 607 machine, possibly, of Christian Prasad-Bhatt, who was currently having some issues over there by the back half of the course.
Yeah, unfortunate for him, as now we can see Chatfield has actually lost a little bit of ground to... Yeah, he's lost a little bit of ground to Joe Ruck there in second position, lost Ruck for a second. See how about 4 car weeks to make up, and we saw last lap, Chatfield had really good pace compared to what Ruck was able to do. Got all the way up to his bumper coming through the red 171 hairpin. Could not make it stick. Ruck, though, his personal best. Chatfield, a little bit of a rougher lap, 55.9 that time through. He's shown he has the pace to match or beat Ruck if he can put it together, but that is a really tall task to do it consistently here in the shifter categories. Ruck continues to get better lap after lap. Still, though, half a second off of Larry Pegram, who didn't even run his best lap that time through.
He certainly has not. He's still been running consistently, though, inside the 55-second bracket. Currently, the battle to watch is Joe Ruck, Brian Chatfield, as well as also Ryan Frank. They're all there separated by under a second for these competitors as they work their way around the circuit. They're heading over towards the carousel right now. Joe Ruck to about 0.8 of a second ahead of Chatfield as they head into the carousel. Entering into the first hairpin. Great drive. A little bit of a slide right there for Joe Ruck. That might open the door for Chatfield to close the gap.
Yeah, you can see Chatfield really kind of has kept it smooth. Ruck is aggressively driving this thing. We saw early on trying to match Larry Pegram, just could not do it with that car. I'm not sure if that's a setup thing or just Ruck not feeling comfortable, but certainly when he puts it together, it looks good. But when he's not, it's sliding all over the place. And you can see that last time through. Chatfield took off about 0.3 of a second from what Ruck was able to do. 55.4 for Chatfield, 55.7 for Ruck. Meanwhile, it looks like Bradley Danoff in the number 677 carts had a little bit of issues on that last time through. 102.9, not sure what happened there. Rough for him. He had a good race to move up to about 7th from 11th, and now he'll have to do it all over again.
It certainly is going to be a tough battle for him, the hill to climb here. Coming up now to 3 minutes left to go in the race. Actually, under 3 minutes left to go. The field is working their way through, continuing to press on forward with this battle. Great driving here for your competitors as they make the run over towards it. It's Pegram still leading this race. Then Joe Ruck, Chatfield, and Frank, your top 4. And then it's going to be Robert Feige in the 5th position as we pick them up heading across into turn number 2. The 619 of Chatfield trying to find an opening to see what he can do as they make the run over to turn 4.
Yeah, Chatfield here putting together a couple solid laps in a row. Came back towards Ruck. You can see on exit of turn 4, he is right up there on the number 653 race factory entry of Joe Ruck. Ruck that last time was his best lap, as well as you see Chatfield with a little bit of a look coming through turn 7. The red 171 hairpin could not make it stick, and he's now going to lose another 2 or 3 kart lengths. So this is where I think Ruck is maybe most comfortable in the kart, although saying that, not a good exit there. Chatfield, we already saw one lunge, not quite close enough this time around to get second place through that little sweeper area, but he has got all over Joe Ruck now as Ruck goes a wider line on exit. That's going to give him a better run there. You can see, look at the amount of time he gains on exit. That was a kart length or 2 just on the gear shift, and that is incredible stuff there for Ruck. He sets a 55.4. He is right there even with Chatfield as they come down towards turn 2.
Heading down into turn number 2 right here, and it's just about a minute and a half, so expect possibly 4 laps to go for this race here. As we watch them coming out of turn number 4, you see the driver of Joe Ruck just trying to keep ahead of Chatfield, who's been having a stellar drive here this afternoon in pre-final action for your KZ Rock Masters pre-final event. A little bit of a bobble right there as they hit over towards the top of the hill and make the ascent up, as we see Joe Ruck making sure he keeps Chatfield behind.
Yeah, it's interesting because Ruck looks like he's using less of the curve on entry to the kink there, and that really, so I said, almost a move from Chatfield. He is trying every line possible. You can see in shifter, you can kind of straight line it in a little bit more than you would in a normal curve, but at the same time, I mean, Chatfield looked like that was a little bit of a lunge. He's now about 2 kart lengths back of Joe Ruck. Ruck again says personal best. He is running very consistently, is Joe Ruck, and it looks like Chatfield is the one that has a little bit more raw pace, but maybe making a little bit more mistakes as they now come up into turn 4. This is going to be an opportunity, but Chatfield backs off and lets Ruck have a little bit more space.
He certainly does as we watch them work their way through out into the red 171 hairpin. Pegram has to deal with some lap traffic possibly up ahead for him momentarily as they make the run towards the back half of the course, heading into the kink. A little bit of a bobble right there over the curbing for Chatfield as they climb the hill. Make sure they keep it onto the pavement as much as they can. Avoid the curbing too much as they head through the carousel.
Yeah, you can see Chatfield. This is the area of the track where he seems strongest. Last time he almost had a lunge. This time thinks better of it. Now though, Ruck, a little bit of a shallower line into the corner, but it's working for him. It gives him a better launch off of the exit of the final corner. And down the straight, that keeps him from getting past. As you can see, 3 laps to go now. They're going to hit 2 to go way before it now. As you can see, Larry Pegram briefly had a little bit of an incident with a lap kart there that cost him a little bit of time. But certainly for Pegram, he's got this under control. It's now the battle for second, where Ruck still seems to have just a little bit in hand over Brian Chatfield.
Coming up to 2 laps to go for your race leader, Larry Pegram. As we watch on here, now it's Ruck, Chatfield, and Frank all lined up nose to tail and continuing to work their way through. And watching on, can Pegram continue this weekend of domination? So far, he's in the absolute best opportunity to do so as they head towards the back half, towards the carousel.
Yeah, Larry Pegram, this has been a clinic from him all weekend long. He's had the pace kind of come and go relative to himself, but compared to the rest of the field, his bad laps are still right there, even with what second and third are doing. And again, when he is on it, there's nobody else that's been able to match his pace around the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. So he gets the 2 to go, and we focus in on the battle for second, where you can see Joe Ruck, a 55.3 compared to Brian Chatfield's 55.4, has been able to close or to pick up another 10th on him. But on screen, it's much closer than that. You can see Chatfield in the areas where he's good in the traction zones is really able to get it. It seems like he's rotating better, with Ruck just being able to get a little bit of a better exit off of every corner.
Certainly here, while watch on for this battle for P2. Chatfield try to get a good run, but cannot make it work as they shift their way over to the kink. He will now make the ascent up to the top of the hill through the carousel. He's got a little bit of couple of opportunities to make this work to go and get that second place away from Joe Ruck. But as they work through the carousel, tries to send it in deep, not able to make it work. as they keep their way through. And
Hugh Templeman.
Hugh Templeman has an issue over in turn number 1. And this is just right in front of our race leaders as they take the white flag here one more time around for Larry Pegram.
Yeah, just a nightmare situation for Larry Pegram. I mean, at this point, or for Hugh Templeman, sorry, he has had a race to forget for the number 500. Started on the outside of row 2. That did not go well. And so you can see Joe Ruck and Brian Chatfield going purple for Ruck and 55.136 for Chatfield. They picked it up down the stretch of this race, but it's not going to be enough for them. As you can see, coming into turn 7, Ruck has gotten a little bit of separation now compared to the number 619 of Brian Chatfield with a 55.136 that last time through. Looks to be about 3 or 4 car lengths. He's not under pressure, but they've found some pace compared to Pegram. And if this continues in the final, it's worth monitoring, but certainly Pegram's still a 1.7 second gap. You wonder if maybe he's backed off a little bit, because he's had this under control from the get-go here.
He certainly has, as they snake their way through the final 2 hairpins. But for Larry Pegram, he will continue this weekend of domination. Checker flag for Larry Pegram in your KZ Rock Masters shifter category, as he will win the pre-final event and continue his streak of wins this weekend with sweeping both the heat races yesterday and now looking to go for the finals later on this afternoon.
Yeah, Pegram just looked dominant. That last little bit of the heat races, or the pre-final, is worth watching because Joe Ruck and Brian Chatfield were able to close in quite a bit over the last 3 or 4 laps and found quite a bit of pace themselves. Ruck has been really consistent this weekend. I don't know if he has the raw pace to beat Pegram, because Pegram, when he's on early in the race, has been unstoppable. But over a full race distance, 3 more minutes, you could see some things happen.
You can certainly see a lot of things happen here, but with that, it is time that concludes the KZ Rock Masters pre-finals. Next up is the KA 100 Juniors, and this is going to be an exciting one. We saw Austin Olds in a very touchy situation with several competitors during heat race number 2, and of course he is definitely going to be one to watch. Of course, he's going to go up against the TKG drivers who have been absolutely putting on a clinic as well this season.
Yeah, I mean, for Austin Olds, that end of the heat race was very sketchy. He got punted out of the way by Eli Warren. Warren did receive a penalty for that yesterday, and that means that it's kind of impacted him, which means that Indy Anderson, who's really kind of been the outside of the top 5 for most of the weekend, will start the race on pole position with Olds alongside him. Olds again finished 6th yesterday after that contact. So he is going to have to do a little bit of work starting from the outside front row, but not as much as a guy like Eli Warren, who's in 5th, and a guy like your other up front runner in Luke Powers, who has to start all the way back in 8th after he got taken out really as an innocent bystander in that last lap, although that caused a racing incident. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this race, but Powers and Warren both with some work to do to be able to catch up with Indy Anderson and Austin Olds, who will start on the front row.
And with that, there is going to be no cleanup needed, so we will go straight into our pre-final action for the KA 100 Junior category, who is about to go out on the track. As they do so, we will soon give you your starting lineup for today's racing action. Field is now getting themselves set up, so we'll go ahead and give you your starting lineup. Starting in P21 will be Eli Warren in the 20th position, Jackson Wolney in 19th, John Antonio with Indy Anderson in 18th position. 17th will go to Tanner Burlew, followed by Jake James in 16th. Isabella Simpson will be in the 15th position with Massimino Sunsuri in the 14th spot. 13th will go to Luke Powers, with 12th being Austin Holds. Margaret Hollis will be in 11th, and starting in 10th is Ryan Miller. CJ Bowman will be starting in 9th with Sam Avrutsky in the 8th position. Anthony Rivera will be in 7th with Mika Winfrey in the 6th spot. Carter Thompson will be starting in 5th with Cole Wilson in the 4th position. 3rd.
It's off of, so we've got some timing issues here. The starting grid for KA Junior, you've got Indy Anderson on pole with Austin Olds in 2nd. Davin Roberts will start 3rd. Carter Thompson 4th. Eli Warren 5th. Sam Amuski 5th. 6th. Cole Wilson 7th. Luke Powers 8th. Jackson Wolney 9th. And Braden Zerf will round out your top 10.
You gotta love technology, I have to say, regarding that matter.
Yeah. Race monitor, race hero. It's just crazy what timing can do sometimes. But regardless, we're set for a really exciting KA Junior pre-final. Gonna have a couple guys working through the field, a couple guys up front trying to work together. We'll see how it all plays out.
as they now enter into the start box. Race officials looking over everyone to make sure they're good to go. As they now enter, watching for the light. Lights are out, and we are racing here once again, and already up at the front of the field. It's going to be a drag race heading into turn number 2. Will we keep it clean or green? Yes, we will. Everyone makes a great run out of there, and they're going to continue on as we watch to see who will make their way to the race lead as they come out of turn number 4.
That's Indy Anderson up to the race lead again. Started on pole position. A little bit of luckiness there to start on pole, but he's now got the lead. Looks to be Davin Roberts up to second ahead of Austin Olds. So a good start for him. You've got another one of the Trinity guys up in third position as well. And then in fourth place, it's Eli Warren, who started in fifth and has already made up a good amount of time already. Carter Thompson slots himself up into the fourth spot behind us. Now we see pass for the lead. Davin Roberts, for the first time all weekend, will take the lead from Indy Anderson. Now, immediately afterwards, Austin Olds up to the front position. Austin Olds, who's led a lot this weekend, leads again here. And it looks like that's going to shuffle back Indy Anderson to fourth as you see Carter Thompson, as well as Davin Roberts getting to second and third. And further back down the list, you've got a lot of working going on. Eli Warren got shuffled back to position there, and now he's going to try down the inside of Anderson for fourth as they come into turn 2.
The MPG Willpower Kart driver of Austin Olds will now once again take over the race lead with Davin Roberts, Carter Thompson, Indy Anderson, and Eli Warren. Eli, of course, had a little bit of an up and down week, had a couple of great runs, but had some issues struggling throughout the race as well yesterday during heat race number 1.
Yeah, and Heat 1, he got spun on pushed off the track on the opening couple of turns, and Heat 2 kind of did some of his own pushing off the track and got a 3-second penalty for it. So he's had to start this race further back than he wanted to. I think he started 5th, and now he's already in that same position. So he briefly made a spot up, but lost it again in that back hairpin. So a lot of work to be done for the Red Speed concept driver, but at the same time for Jimmy Simpson Racing, he has a lot of pace. As you can see again, Carter Thompson goes wide into turn 13, and that's going to allow for a couple guys to get underneath him, and it actually hurts everyone involved. Luke Powers is up there now. You can see him started back up at the top 10. He still is in the mid part of the top 10, coming down into turn 1. It's a Hornet's Nest coming into 1, and you can see Davin Roberts just able to, not Davin Roberts, one of the other cars able to hang on as you can see them go fanning out for turn 2. Braden Zerv's down the inside there trying to make a move. Stick cannot make it stick, and you have a long train of go-karts from about 4th on back now, all the way back down to about 12th position. So a really good run. As you can see, Jackson Wolnice, the guy that's moved up into 4th, passing Eli Warren, and he's got Luke Powers for company as well. So Powers and Warren, we've seen them work together all weekend long, and now they're going to have to work again to try to get themselves up back towards the front.
They certainly are going to have to do so. They got a lot of work to do with now just 3 minutes already up on the clock for these competitors as they make the run over to the carousel. Beautiful pass right there by one of them as they make their way into the hairpin. Some crossover moves about to happen as we watch on the battle for P4 between Walney Thompson and Eli Warren. A little bit tap of the shoulder head right there to make sure that they can get themselves going to go and chase down Indy Anderson as well as Robertson Olds as they come across the line here. Olds sets the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, Austin Olds setting a good pace, and meanwhile in the process, Davin Roberts has been able to drop Indy Anderson. So those two have a little bit more pace than what we've seen Indy Anderson have so far. Roberts a little bit surprising to see that kind of pace. He's been kind of the middle part of the top 10 all weekend long, but now he's second in the pre-final right on Austin Olds' tail. Olds doing a nice job setting the pace, and he needs to because Warren and Powers continue to work well together. We've seen Eli Warren starting in 5th position. He had a good start, got shuffled back a little bit, and now he's got his running mate in Luke Powers too. Jimmy Simpson Racing products are working well together so far, and they're trying to close up the gap to the top 2.
They're doing a great job. Of course, for Olds and Roberts, they were almost identical last time by with their lap times here as they head through the 2 hairpin corners. Olds being very smooth and consistent, wanting to keep Davin Roberts behind him. He'll tuck his head down and try to get a little bit of a run as they continue to make their way out of the final corner. Meanwhile, Indy Anderson and that TKG machine trying to see what he can do as he sends it on in through the corner, but he's going to be under immense pressure from Eli Warren and Luke Powers, the 2 teammates trying to work together.
Yeah, Warren and Powers that last time through picked off about 3 to 5 tenths on what the lead 2 were able to do. And that really is critical. As you can see now, them right on the tail of Indy Anderson coming up towards the red 171 hairpin. Will we see Warren make a move? He elects to stay behind Anderson. He feels confident that they can make that move happen on the backside of the track where he won't lose as much time. And at this point, it's kind of a numbers game for Warren and for Powers. You want to lose as much or as little time as possible for those 2 to be able to find themselves getting the pace. And we can see now if Warren, as you see, coming into the backside of the track, Olds and Robertson, I believe you're seeing a pass now for third position. Warren has been able to get around Indy Anderson. Anderson's going to fight Powers back for fourth. Not going to have the position there, and that allows a little bit of separation. But Eli Warren and Luke Powers both through on Indy Anderson. We'll have to see if the young Trinity Karting Group driver can be able to find a little bit more pace as they come down into turn one. It's another good lap for both Warren and Powers. A little bit off of what Olds and Roberts were doing, but they both had to make a pass.
With that, we're going to turn it down to Xander Clemens. He's caught up with one of our special drivers in the KA class, and it's none other than one of the Bailiff brothers.
Down here on the grid with Gavin Bailiff. Gavin, pace has been on lock in KA, and it's your home track, so I'm not saying, since we haven't seen you run the shifter, that you don't know how to get around here in one, but we're not P1 in this class. What's missing?
I think right now we just don't necessarily have the power plant. We've got the IAME engine. It's running great for what we did to it. Pulled it out of the box, adjusted the carburetor, and just sent it.
So talk about that, and then obviously not a whole lot of seat time on the KR shifter chassis this year. With the motor where it's at, have you guys been adjusting the chassis a lot, or just kind of working with what you can on carburation?
Yeah, we've been adjusting the chassis almost every session, just trying to find a little bit of drive out of the corner. It's been probably over a year and a half since I've been in the KR shifter, and now with the IAME power plant, it's kind of difficult to figure out, but I think we're rolling good for what we've got.
All right, good luck here in this one, Gavin. We'll be watching you again.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Xander. As they work their way through around the circuit, we're going to keep an eye on the rest of the field. It's still Austin Olds holding strong over Davin Roberts. They have about a 1.5 second lead over Warren and Powers. They were able to get around the TKG machine of Indy Anderson, so move those two competitors, teammates, up into third and fourth as we go back up to the front of the field, watching Olds and Roberts jockeying for position, trying to see if they can continue to pull away here. And as they work their way through, keeping an eye on this battle, we also have another special guest joining us. AJ Myers is with Xander Clemens.
Down here with AJ Myers, obviously not the best ending to Saturday than what you would have liked. You're rolling mid-grid. Now, for the viewers at home, can you explain a little bit of the scenario that went down when the lights stay on too long in a shifter?
Yeah, so I mean, you get it as that fourth light comes on, that's the last light, you're already finding that bite point, and the light just never went off. So as you hold the clutch on that bite point for a long, long time, it just melted my plates together, and then after that, the clutch was always engaged, never disengaging.
Makes sense. Now, obviously, you came into this one looking more just to kind of keep yourself warmed up in chassis tuning for warming up for Supernats. Now you're going to have at least some passing experience rolling off mid-grid. How do you feel?
It'll be fun. I mean, I hope they get a good start, pass some of his guys, and run down Andrew out there, and I think everything's possible.
Well, at least you seem in pretty good spirits here today. We'll let you get back to it, and good luck here, AJ.
Yeah, thank you. It'll be a good race.
All right, that's AJ Myers. Boys, back to you.
Thank you very much, Xander. AJ, really looking forward to seeing what he can do here in the pre-final and final actions later this afternoon, even with the clutch issue he had to deal with in heat race number 2. As we go back up towards the front of the field, watching on, it's still going to be Austin Olds, Davin Roberts. Eli Warren has picked up a little bit of time. They picked about half a second up on the driver, as now Warren has now dropped it down to 0.7 of a second. He is in hot pursuit as he sets the fastest lap of the race.
Man, Eli Warren is absolutely cooking right now. 59.5 that last time through. He has dropped Luke Powers in the process, and he's going to be right on the tail of your two leading drivers really soon, as he's already only about a kart length back. Now coming up through to the snake section, he is coming right up towards Davin Roberts.
As we watch that battle for the race lead, we're going to go back down to Xander Clements with some more of our special guests.
Vincenzo Saraceno. Vincenzo, you enter the weekend leading the championship standings. I know it hasn't been a bad weekend, but obviously not a perfect one either. What's been missing so far for you?
Just a little bit with me, just not knowing, not getting my groove right the last couple corners. I'm struggling there. Seems all weekend, but yesterday and this morning I was getting a little better there. But I know the caliber, AJ and Andrew, their driver, their their caliber status of their driver. You know, they're great drivers. So, I mean, to be that close to them, I'm impressed with myself, but I know I can do better.
And, of course, going into this weekend, when the drops factor in, Josh Conker's actually kind of got an outside shot at it. He's been getting closer. What kind of changes have you guys made overnight, or has it been a lot more on you?
No, really, it's just been on me driving. The co-car's been real good all weekend. It's just my lack of consistency at this point, because I can put a lap together. I've seen it. It was a tenth, half a tenth here, 2 tenths there, and then all of a sudden I'll drop 3 tenths, 4 tenths, half a second back. So it's me.
Well, it's a tricky racetrack for sure, but it's the same for everybody. How are you feeling going into today to try and lock up a title?
Now I'm more confident. I mean, I know what I have to do to not take unnecessary risks and just keep my nose clean and reach the checkered flag.
All right, guys. It's Vincenzo Saraceno. Good luck here today.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, back to you.
Thank you very much, Xander. Saraceno is really looking forward to seeing what he can do here in this next category, the KZ Rock Shifter class. Once again, these guys are absolutely putting on a great show so far, as we're now under 2 minutes left to go as we watch on here, and it looks like Austin Olds, Eli Warren. I might have seen Eli Warren's go up to the race lead.
Warren's got it. Coming up through turn 2, was able to get the pass done, move Eli Warren to the lead. He's had a sensational drive to get himself up to the front. We saw while we were in the split screen a really nice effort for him to be able to put himself in second position to get by Davin Roberts. Luke Powers got by Roberts as well later in the lap, but certainly for Warren, he has been so fast in this race. A 59.5 is best off of the race, 4/10 clear of what Olds has been able to do, and it looks like Xander's got another interview down.
He certainly does. He's down with Andrew Bajoso.
Joso, Mr. Wild, man. Andrew, it's, been okay this weekend, but talk to me about that second heat, man. Looked like you just kind of fell off near the end.
Yeah, I mean, I would have an issue of trying too hard and making mistakes, so I decided to chill and drive, calm and conservative, and the laps were running out, and I was getting tired, and next thing you know, I heard a guy behind me. I saw his nose there maybe a lap before, but I didn't think of anything of it to defend there. So I made some adjustments. Me and AJ have been going back and forth with go-kart, just trying whatever we thought was not correct, and honestly finding some new strategies here, ways of developments, and now I kind of went towards the right direction and stopped hurting myself in that slow turn. So I think it'd be a good day.
Now we go back. You're one of the few guys, of course, that ran Pro Stars here last year before the resurface. The new surface still seems a little bit rough. How physical is it out there this week?
Man, it's just the curbs. That's it. You got to hit them, so it's going to make it kind of physical. Other than that, it's a little bumpy on the brake zones, and that's about it. The whole Mickey Mouse section could be a little longer, maybe. Then I think it'll be fixed. More like an auto. So.
Well, it's pretty cool, obviously. You guys have put on a good show. We're expecting some more. Can the fans expect a good show here out of Mr. Showman?
Yeah, man. Don't worry.
That's Andrew Bajoso, boys. Good luck, Andrew.
Andrew Bajoso putting on a great show here. Always the Showman. Definitely going to be one to watch. But 2 laps to go now for your KA Junior pre-final event, and it is Olds and Warren battling for the race lead. Throw in Luke Powers and Davin Roberts. There are 4 drivers battling for this race win in pre-finals action as they climb the hill. Once again, Warren just making sure he can keep Austin Olds. Could we see a repeat in heat race number 2? Olds tries to show the nose as they head down through the carousel. Watching on, Luke Powers tries to see what he can do as they make their way through the first hairpin. Coming through that second one, they continue to put the pressure on. Olds in between the 2 drivers as they continue to make their way out of the final corner. White flag in the air for Eli Warren.
It's going to be a 3, maybe 4 kart battle here by the end of the lap. Warren goes defensive into turn 1 against Austin Olds. Olds crosses over. Warren again defensive into 2, gets it done. And now Olds going to have to kind of stay in second place, not able to get anything done there. Coming to 4, again, Warren defensive into the corner. Looks like he's got a good enough rotation, not be susceptible to the crossover now coming down into the red 171 hairpin. Again, defensive move from Eli Warren. He has got this under control so far, and it's brought back Davin Roberts into this battle. So now a 4-kart breakaway at the front, heading to the back half of the lap. This is where things got chaotic yesterday. We'll see if it happens again today.
Climbing up the hill, Eli Warren, Austin Olds. Could we see a repeat what happened in heat race number 2? They head into the carousel. A little bit of bumping and banging as they try to get themselves jockeying for position. 1 car goes wide. That's Davin Roberts, who goes way offline. Here comes the crossover. Austin Olds hits the mark. He will take over the race lead through the final corner. And Luke Powers and Davin Roberts try to see what they can do. But at the line, it will be Austin Olds who takes the race win in your pre-final racing action for your KA Juniors, and a beautiful pass for that win.
Yeah, yesterday it looked like Olds kind of mistimed that last corner a little bit, and it allowed him to get out drag race to the line. This time a pass in that last corner sort of bobbled up Eli Warren and Luke Powers to the point where they could not get that run down the straightaway, and that was just enough to hold off their draft. Obviously the draft's super powerful down that main straight, but when you can make a pass sort of cause a little bit of chaos behind you, it worked out for Austin Olds there. A good run from him, from Warren, from Powers, both of them making up spots. And then you've got Davin Roberts in 4th, his best run of the weekend by far, and Jackson Wolnai rounds out your top 5. A solid run for him, finishing only about a second and a half off of that lead group.
6 is Indy Anderson, followed by Anthony Rivera 7th. 8th is John Antonio with Carter Thompson in 9th. And rounding out your top 10 is Sam Abrutski. With that, it is now time for your KZ Rock shifter carts getting ready to go for their pre-final action. We talked to some of the stars to work with, and now we're going to take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, it's getting ready for those races for pre-final action.
It is go time here. Pro Stars action getting set to get underway. The last pre-final of the 2022 Stars Championship Series season set to go green with some beautiful sunny skies. Not a cloud in the sky here to round off the season in Cincinnati. A little bit of a chilly morning. A little bit warmer than yesterday by about maybe 5 degrees air and track temperatures, but not a ton. So a lot of what these drivers learned from the opening heat races early yesterday afternoon and late morning will transfer over into today. We talked to a number, of course, of the Pro Stars on the grid. Wildman Andrew Bajoso will start on the point after issues for AJ Myers. Had a DNF for him in the second heat race, and Bajoso finishing second to Josh Conker puts him on the pole. Now Conker, like we mentioned, but after drops are factored in, is less than 100 points back from Vincenzo Saraceno, and with that heat race win in heat number 2, he inches a little bit closer. Saraceno will still lead the points coming into today, and Talagnac will enter the weekend only about maybe 20 or 30 back out of the lead. However, he has not had the pace to run with Saraceno or Conker thus far. The Magic Car driver rolls off a little bit further on the grid as Saraceno lines up third. Gavin Bailiff will line up in fourth. Talagnac will round out the top 5. Then it's Jason Enrique, Calvin Ming, and there is AJ Myers just to the left-hand side of your screen. He'll roll off fourth on the outside, or 8th on the outside of row number 4. The last few drivers will line up into the grid stalls. We'll get set for action here. Pro Stars to the light system here. The Track Light North America system ready. Red lights on. Andrew Bajoso, Josh Conker, who gets the whole shot down to turn number 1. And we are underway. Give the whole shot to Bajoso again. He'll nose just ahead to the first corner as they go to turn number 2. Conker down to the inside. Saraceno to third, Bailiff fourth, and around the outside, look at AJ Myers already up to fourth. What a hell of a start for the Magic Cart.
Absolutely insane stuff from AJ Myers there. He started 8th, now all the way up to 4th, was able to slice his way through the first corner, got up to 6th there, another 2 spots in turn 2, and now he's in perfect spots. And we now see Saraceno dive it in on turn 7 on Josh Conker. Didn't work out. You see now Gavin Bailiff getting shuffled back a little bit in the background there, but now coming into turn 10, aggressive move. Saraceno down the inside of Conker, pushes both of them wide and through 10 corners. AJ Myers is already up to second after that move.
And that right there was some points racing as Josh Conker gets eaten alive by the pack. Talagnac going by. Bailiff on the outside of him. Josh Conker has the field bottlenecked behind him. It's still Bailiff looking to get by. Then it's going to be Jason Enrique. And again, he's watching his 2 championship contenders, Talagnac and Vincenzo Saraceno, pulling away down the front stretch here. Conker under heavy fire. I think you might have an issue or something aboard the Maranello as Gavin Bailiff down the inside, side by side, exit in the corner. Cannot get fully alongside him here while the top 4 get away. Here he goes, turn 4. Conker crowds him down on the bottom side and he'll stay clear, and he cuts the grass. Conker losing a lot of spots. Here comes his teammate Calvin Ming.
This has been a nightmare start for Josh Conker. Came into the day with a solid chance of the points championship on the outside front row. He's already down to the middle part of the top 10 with a big pack behind him. He's got to figure things out, or maybe there's something wrong with the cart, but regardless, not the start that Josh Conker wanted. And for Saraceno and Jaakl, this is exactly what they needed. And Jaakl in particular back into championship contention a little bit, but Vincenzo Saraceno, an aggressive move, put Conker back in that pack, and now it's working out well for him as we now see that pack continuing to go down the main straight to complete lap number 2, led by Gavin Bailiff in 5th, and beyond them, I mean, it's just a hornet's nest. The cart's down to about 12th or so.
So all the way through here, Calvin Ming leads over Jason Enrique. Just ahead of him again, Conker seems to have kind of found a little bit of footing outside the top 5 behind Gavin Bailiff. While we look to them here, we will also go down to the trackside camera. Taylor Burris is caught up with our winner in the KA Junior Pre-Final, Austin Olds. Taylor?
We are here with Austin Olds, who put on a stellar performance here in the KA 100 Junior category. Austin, walk us through that last lap, the last few corners, able to come out on top with this.
Yeah, it was just, I was thinking about where he was going to go to block and where I can make my move. And he just opened the door in the last corner, got under him, parked around the apex, he hit me, and just drove away from the win.
Now, of course, you've had a weekend full of ups and downs. Of course, you won heat race number 1. Heat race number 2 didn't go as planned with a little bit of the chaos we saw there. You recovered back, of course, with that spirited battle with Eli Warren. How are you able to keep that momentum going for you and able to keep focused for the final action this afternoon?
You just can't let anything get in front of you and slow you down, because all that'll do is hurt you in the future.
We look forward to seeing what you can do in finals action this afternoon. That is Austin Olds, your winner in pre-final action. Back over to you, Xander.
Thank you, Taylor. We go back to the on-track action here as Josh Conker gets around Gavin Bailiff, gets himself back into the top 5, and starts to drive back forward. Obviously, we expected A.J. Myers to be quick. He was quickest last time by, continuing to lop off margins off the gap to race leader Andrew Bajoso. The reigning series champion takes him down the front stretch as his battle for 5th rages on. Conker trying to get away, and your race leaders headed through 1 and 2. The two Magics out front, and A.J. Myers down to only 3 to 4. Oh, spin! Vincenzo Saraceno got around in turn number 2. Vincenzo Saraceno, the points leader.
Absolutely massive stuff there for Saraceno. Looks like a mistake of his own under braking in turn 2. Not what he wanted at all. And that's going to put him all the way outside the top 10, outside the top 15 for Saraceno. This is a disaster for Italian Jaakl. He's now up into 3rd. For Conker, he's refound his bearings into 4th. And over the course of the last couple of laps, this championship has changed so much as Josh Conker has found himself back in a decent position again.
So now the battle for the lead goes back. This is, again, not affecting the championship in any way. A.J. Myers and Andrew Bajoso making their first starts of the year. We're about to see the battle coming to us. Bajoso takes a look back. He knows A.J.'s there. What does he do here with the reigning Pro Tour champion looking to the inside, and he gets by. No pressure. A.J. Myers to the lead, Bajoso back to 2nd, and I think that might be lights out here for the field. A.J. Myers that everybody covered so far. He gets through to the lead over to turn number 4. Now back behind him. Let's find where Vincenzo Saraceno is at. Saraceno trying to come back to the field. Like we said, he comes in 20 to 30 points up on Jaakl. Added a little bit to that in the heats. And then, of course, he had about a 75 point advantage over Josh Conker. However, now where he runs just ahead of Kyle Kennedy, back behind Jason Enrique, he's given up some valuable points, about 20 to 30 to Conker and another 10 or 20 to Talon Jaakl. So your leaders headed through the back sector here, Bajoso and Myers with 40 seconds plus 2 laps to go, which means 3 to go this time by Vincenzo Saraceno. Let's pick him up over the crest here, trying to find where he's at in the VTM Racing Engines Magic Kart. He is behind this pairing right here. There he is across the front straightaway, down to turn number 1. 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go. My mistake.
Yeah, so you can see now Saraceno's actually done a decent job to recover from that spin. I thought he was going to lose a lot more than that, but ended up only down to 9th. He's already gotten Kyle Kennedy picked off, so he's now only lost about 20 points. And you can see he's been able to find some pace of 53.9 that last time through. He might have a shot to get up to Jason Enrique and Calvin Ming in 6th and 7th. Certainly, though, not ideal to have a mistake like that. And for Jaakl...
Oh, we got problems more on the side. Who is that on the
That's Jaakl. It's Jaakl.
It's out. Talon Yockel has a mechanical failure. And so once again, the championship sways another direction. From Saraceno spinning in turn number 2 to Talon Yockel breaking down at the entrance to turn number 6.
And that might be lights out for Yockel's championship hopes this season. It's going to be hard to overcome as we see a battle for the lead now. As you see, AJ came under fire from Budoso, and it looks like AJ's been able to hold on to that position coming up through turn 2. Now, though, Andrew going to make another lunge into turn 4. He's got the position on AJ Myers, so Budoso fighting back after it looked like his race might have been come undone as Myers made the move. And now Andrew Budoso back up to the point like he's been for most of the last 2 heats and the pre-final. But AJ Myers has had a lot of roll pace. We'll see if he can overcome that.
That is wild. Again, Andrew Budoso mentioned a little bit about fatigue kind of hurting him yesterday, and he was going easier then harder as the Budoso lose the spot now. Myers back on the inside of him for the lead once again. But he was kind of taking it easy, trying not to overdrive. Now goes back into overdrive again. And this time, I think Myers might be able to pull that gap a little bit. But we saw this gap earlier. Budoso closed it back up, got back around him, and Myers had to fight back. So AJ Myers back to the point. There's your leaders. Where's the rest of the field? Well, here's Josh Conker. So Conker now is in a great spot for the championship. He's in third as Jason Enrique is going to work on Calvin Ming. And Vincenzo Saraceno has finally caught up to them. He's on the bumper, but looking inside on Enrique. That'll get 1 spot back. Every spot, 5 to 10 points here for Vincenzo Saraceno. Valuable points he cannot afford to give up to Josh Conker, looking towards the main event later today.
Yeah, at this point, Saraceno might be able to get all the way back up to 4th position if he can find enough pace to get up to Gavin Bailiff. But certainly, this is damage limitation mode for Vincenzo Saraceno. At first, it was damage limitation mode for Josh Conker. We saw Talon Yockel have this issue. We saw Saraceno have the spin, and now it's all played back into Conker's hands. He's running a good pace in third, not going to come under fire at this rate from anyone. As now you can see at the front, AJ and Budoso have kind of split up, but this is all about Saraceno. How much can he make up? As you see down the main straightaway, down the inside on Calvin Ming, he makes the move stick, moves Saraceno back up into 5th. Ming's going to try another move, but cannot make a second to turn 2. And now Saraceno can set his sights on the turning group number 264 of Gavin Bailiff for 4th position. He's got about a second to make up there.
So Vincenzo Saraceno getting by Calvin Ming. Ming entered the weekend kind of with an outside shot at the title. He's been a top 5 guy all year. Hasn't really gotten a big-time win yet, but he's gotten some podiums. He's been close, but he's not had the runs that Saraceno and Yockel have had through the season, so not too much of a fight being put up there, especially with Ming being the newly found teammate to Josh Conker. You think he might play a bit more of a blocker move, but he just kind of let him on go as he went by down the front stretch. So for Vincenzo Saraceno, he gets the Gavin Bailiff. That puts him only 1 spot behind Josh Conker, and that's not a terrible loss, really, points-wise. That, I think, might be at the worst 10 points. I think it is only going to be 5 he gives up if that's the case. And, again, it's just kind of been a slow bleed for Vincenzo Saraceno in terms of points to Josh Conker over the course of this week. Conker winning heat number 2, outpacing him in heat number 1 a little bit, but Saraceno was right there with him, 3rd and 4th. So Saraceno to Bailiff, the pace is definitely on the side of Vincenzo. Last time by was even with the pass. This time looks a little better. So we'll see if he can get there for P4 in the closing stages as we're coming down to 2 minutes, 20 seconds to go, plus 2 laps. Again, puts us about 5, maybe 4 laps to go here with this battle raging on for P6. Calvin Ming versus Jason Enrique and Kyle Kennedy just closing in on the margin. He's up 5 spots from the tail of the field in that HMG Motorsports entry. So Kyle Kennedy making it a 3-car group battling outside the top 5.
Yeah, and right now the fastest car on the racetrack, even faster than AJ Myers, is Josh Conker. Vincenzo Saraceno that time through, though, gained a few tenths on Gavin Bailiff. At this rate, it's going to be close to see if Saraceno can catch Bailiff. I think if he can keep this pace up, he will, as we continue to see Ming leading off Jason Enrique, Kyle Kennedy right behind them in 8th position as well. And those 3 have had a good battle. Certainly with Ming and Enrique, they have not had the pace to match the top 5 headers. We see more carnage back there. And that looks to be Calvin Ming in the Vernal, maybe in that back.
Right as we switch off from that battle for 6, he comes unglued. More storylines here for the pre-final as Calvin Ming is going to join Talon Yockel at the tail of the field. And I think that looks like a locked-up gearbox for Calvin Ming coming out of the corner. So he's trying to get it into neutral just to move that thing off the track, maybe get himself refired. Meanwhile, Vincenzo Saraceno, where is the gap for him to Gavin Bailiff? Let's see across the line with a minute and some change to go. That time, Saraceno at 53.6, Bailiff a 53.8, so 0.2 better for Vincenzo. He's half a second back and coming, but it'll be tight. He'll get there right around the white flag lap, so maybe a last lap move to get another 5 or 10 points.
At this point, I think Vincenzo Saraceno will be perfectly fine with fourth after everything that happened. He can get there. It looks like he's gaining slowly on Bailiff. It even looks closer than the 6 it was at the line last time through. But certainly for Vincenzo, this has been a good run for him to overcome a spin, minimize the damage from this. He's going to lose a few points to Conquer, but really this whole weekend, Conquer's had the better pace all weekend, but it hasn't been by enough to really make a substantial dent in Saraceno's championship lead. As you can see now coming through the 2 hairpins, Saraceno really getting closer within about a couple of car lengths on the center corner. Obviously expands that on exit, but still right up there on Bailiff. And they're coming down. We're going to have 3 laps to go this time through. Bailiff with a 54.0, Saraceno 53.8, another 0.2 down for Vincenzo Saraceno.
So Vincenzo Saraceno now down to 4 car lengths away, headed at turn number 4. They got in, I believe, under the gun, so they did not get that 2 to go signal. It's 3 to go, which is good news again for the VTM Racing Engines Magic Kart Privateer as he closes the gap a little bit closer to turn number 5. Now down to a 2 car length margin up to Gavin Bailiff. And we're focusing again on this battle for fourth. As up front, it's all spread apart. Josh Conquer by himself in third. Andrew Bajoso has kept loose touch with A.J. Myers, but he's faded backwards from his Magic Kart teammate. So they've got to lock out of the front row. Myers will come across the line to get the 2 to go signal, and that's what these two will see this time by. Gavin Bailiff parking it where he needs to, getting himself a good exit. It'll be a 2-way battle there for the charge into fourth. As there goes Conquer on by. Here comes the fight for P4. Bailiff versus Saraceno, 2 to go.
Yeah, Bailiff there again, and not quite as quick as what Saraceno was able to do right behind him, and now Saraceno's within a kart length or 2. And now as they come into turn 4, Saraceno right on his bumper. You have to wonder when Saraceno's going to try to pull the trigger on that pass. We saw an opening lap. He was very aggressive with Josh Conquer making the move in the left-hand bend, but against a guy like Gavin Bailiff that's not in the championship, maybe not quite as much worthy of a risk that Saraceno would take there. We'll see what he does this time. Stays behind him into that corner.
Yeah, he stays right in tow, so they'll climb the hill towards the carousel section. Vincenzo Saraceno looking, maybe a dive bomb right here down the inside, trying it, not close enough. He kind of bounces off the rear bumper of Bailiff, and the white flag will fly this time. And again, just a rough launch out of 14. It opens that gap up tremendously. He just can't get that final corner down. We talked to him. He said the last section was really his trickiest part of the circuit, and it's just got him in an awkward spot where he's making up ground for that whenever he gets behind somebody. But half a lap to go for this battle for fourth. A.J. Myers already is working his way towards the S's as these guys exit turn number 4. A solid run through to make up for the disappointment at the end of the day yesterday for A.J. Myers.
Yeah, A.J. Myers turning up the wick a bit on that last lap, went purple again, and already it took him 1 lap to get from 8th to 2nd. Past Andrew Budoso a few laps later, and then obviously Andrew made it 6th. We have pass for Conquer again. Well, Saraceno got the pass done on Bailiff coming through the same place he got Conquer. Does it again. We were skeptical if he might take that risk again, and he makes it stick. And now he's only 1 spot behind Josh Conquer. A good recovery for Vincenzo Saraceno.
A.J. Myers wins the pre-final here in Pro Stars. Andrew Bajoso is slowing onto the front straightaway. That is huge. Andrew Bajoso with a problem. He has stalled out. He has lost power on the final 500 feet to the checkered flag. He's trying to hop in the cart to keep the momentum going. Here comes the field on by Andrew Bajoso from 2nd, and now he will take the lap that A.J. Myers did and go to the tail as he skateboards down the tram lines to try and get to the finish line. Andrew Bajoso, he said there's going to be some kind of show for the fans, and well, he gets across the line. He still beats a handful, so as he pulls it into the grass, Andrew Bajoso crosses down in 11th. That's better than going all the way down to where he would have been in 15th. But man, oh man, for the reigning series champion, that is about as rough of an ending as you can have in the pre-final. Breaking down, so Josh Conquer, big time point swing there to get to 2nd. But Vincenzo Saraceno minimizes the damage to finish 3rd. And again, while Talon Yockel entered this weekend with high hopes, I think, unfortunately, the DNF here in today's pre-final is going to pretty much knock the 224 out of championship contention.
Yeah, rough way to end the pre-final for Yockel. He had a good shot there. He was in 3rd position at the time of his retirement, but certainly that will take him pretty much out of contention. For Saraceno and Conquer at different points, they both look to be in a rough spot. Both of them made it out fairly similarly out. 2nd for Conquer, 3rd for Saraceno, but man, Andrew Budosa is going to have to go through the field just like his teammate AJ Myers did in this pre-final, only a little bit further for Budosa. And for other guys, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch the Conquer versus Saraceno battle. We saw them get the elbows out on the first lap. Saraceno made a couple of really good moves in that race, and really this final is going to come down to just who can match AJ Myers, if anyone, and in the championship battle between Conquer and Saraceno, who can get themselves into the best position over the course of a long race, longer than anything we've seen all weekend.
So that wraps up, again, your pro stars. Myers, Conquer, Saraceno, Bailiff, Enrique, your top 5. Kyle Kennedy, Ian Quinn, Blake Hunt, who was quickest in the winner in the subcategory, the Rock Stars class, 8th in pro stars, 9th is Safik Hadek, the 3rd, and 10th to rookie Jonathan Ocasio, a top 10 result in the pre-final. But for Calvin Ming, for Talon Yockel, the track cleanup will continue. This wraps up the free coverage of Kart Chasers live stream of the Stars Championship Series finale from the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. If you want to watch the main events, well, they're underway here in less than 30 minutes this afternoon. Make sure to go to youtube.com/kartchasers/join to become a KC Premium member if you are not already. This live stream will go down, and the main event one will kick on up as soon as the first main is ready to roll for 206 stars and on down. It's time to crown champions here in Cincinnati. We'll be back live in just a little bit after the lunch break.